Grind don't stop. 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 Grind don't stop.
Hello, welcome to Chewed Gum. This is a show about rejecting purity culture, challenging misogyny, and the effects of religious trauma on women. Today is Tuesday, July 28th. And if you would like to call the show, you can call 720-619-2288 or use the web link in the description. My name is Alyssa.
And I'm Taylor. How are you doing, Alyssa?
I'm all right. I'm all right. Was just seeing, have you seen all the stuff about the flock cameras?
Yes, I literally one night I get obsessed with things late at night and I hate it because then I'll stay up for so many hours. And I stayed up so many hours one night just reading and watching videos on it. And I felt like a conspiracy theorist, even though it's not a conspiracy, but it's
Yeah,
just so weird.
I
Like
know.
I hate it. And
I
I
know.
I wanted to look up like which ones were in my city, but yeah.
Yeah, I should look that up too. I think there's an app where you can see where all of them are. And I saw another video of a guy, he was like, I've heard that people are are destroying these things. And
Mm.
he's like, I heard that they are going to Home Depot and they're buying exactly this chainsaw or whatever, and
Yeah.
like goes through the whole thing. It was very funny. And then I also just saw right before we got on that people are recommending that women play Disney music because the copyright situation would make that footage I don't know. Like that's I don't know, but I don't know what you would be
That's
using it for.
so the thing that disturbed me the most is obviously they say they put them by roads and they can use the excuse that they think they're gonna like find someone stealing a car or something. But then you see, and obviously like this is all online. I'm not gonna say I know all this stuff for sure because I still want to go out and see like ones in my actual city. But there's a fruit fly. I swear my house is a
Oh
dirty
no.
guys. Um, what was I saying? Oh yeah, I've seen pictures of some at like parks and stuff, like not near a road. So I'm like, uh, I don't know.
It's
It's disturbing.
insane. It's
It's really disturbing.
insane.
Because the reason I started going down that rabbit hole is because of that video of the cop saying to this woman at her house that he knew for a fact she stole a package and she didn't. Do you know what I'm talking about?
No.
Yeah, he said he saw her on a flock camera do it, but like eventually it was found out that it wasn't her, it was somebody else. But he basically said in the video, he says you can't even like breathe fresh air without us knowing or some bullshit like
What
that. And I'm like,
the
why would you say
fuck?
that to somebody? That is like like if you don't want people to freak out over it, then why would you say
Wow.
something like that? It's just
Wow.
insane.
Wow, that's so crazy. Oh, I
Yeah.
see in the comments it says the DOE is currently using Disney and Nickelodeon characters and shit to be like parents know best. And it's wild. Play Disney or anime openings, Japan and Disney have scary copyright lawyers. That's so crazy. And it's also the when I saw that posted, it like the caption was something along the lines of like, oh no, one of the comments was something um like women trying to protect themselves and survive and still and like needing to use the protections of a business to be able to do
Yeah.
that.
Yeah,
Like
I
it's
was literally
fucking
just thinking
crazy.
that as you mentioned that. I'm like, that's crazy. It's so
It's
stupid.
so fucking dumb. I'm so over it. And I also saw a clip of Trump saying that he was going to run for a fourth term.
Did you see the okay, I've been rage baiting myself a lot this past week, so so I got a lot to say. No, but
Yes.
did you see in his speech, I don't know where what the thing was. It was some thing where people were getting awards. But he was like telling everybody once he's gone, everyone's gonna be broke and no one's gonna care about you. The freaking fruit fly, I'm gonna lose my mind. There's one singular fruit fly, okay. And
Oh
it
my
was just so
God.
funny because everyone in the room just laughed and it's so weird. He's like I've seen him so many times insult his own like supporters and people who like are part of MAGA and I'm like this is kind of sad and pathetic to watch you all just accept it.
Yeah.
Like
I mean, but it happens all there's no one on this earth who has like his true loyalty. Like he
yeah.
just doesn't give a fuck. He really
No.
doesn't care. So
And
it's
then the
crazy.
article that, or I don't know if it's today or yesterday, where the Trump administration admitted to pulling funding from blue states. They just admitted it. And I'm like, that's literally the definition of like taxation without representation, because you're
Yes.
supposed to be a president of the whole country, not to like he wants to punish the states who didn't vote for him. And
Yes.
it's just so pathetic. It's all ego driven, obviously, but it's just like I get so frustrated because I feel like that stuff isn't even big news because he just does insane shit all the time.
Yes.
And then sometimes if you talk about it, people are like, "Oh, are you surprised? You shouldn't be surprised." I'm like, "I'm not surprised. I just don't want this shit to be normal."
Right.
Like I'm gonna talk about it like it's not normal because it's not fucking normal. I'm so tired of it like like people pretend like it's normal. Like just because he does it all the time doesn't mean it's normal. And it's
Yeah.
just like actually ugh, it's so frustrating. It's so frustrating that they I they do this thing where, you know, they push the limits time and time again, and now they're just willing to say more and more shit out loud. Like they're
Hmm.
willing to admit that, yeah, we're punishing blue states for not voting for Trump, and they feel comfortable saying that out loud. That is insane. So
Yeah.
that's like the point we're at.
Yeah. It's just out in the open. Corruption out in the fucking open.
Yeah. I freaking hate it, but I have been rage baiting myself, yeah, unfortunately.
No
It'd be like that.
more. Sorry. Someone recently, oh, I had a friend who was talking to me about um like their time on the internet and he was like, I can feel that I'm addicted to my phone and that I'm addicted to
Yeah.
being online, but like I don't know what to do. And so he was asking me about it and I was like, you honestly ha like I will have moments exactly like what you're saying where I'm like, I know in that moment I am consciously rage baiting myself
Yeah.
and I could recognize
And
it.
it also really sucks if that is like your job.
Yeah.
Because me and my friend talk about this all the time, but it's so hard to disconnect the two because
Hmm.
sometimes you kind of lie to yourself and say, oh, well, I'm swiping to see like, you know, what people are saying or what's going on so that
Yeah.
way I can make content. And it's like, yeah, it's really hard to um draw that line because
Yeah.
yeah, it can get really addicting. And then the you like I've noticed before in the past, I've been addicted to like if I get very doomer, sometimes it gets worse and worse because I'll just keep doing it to myself. And yeah, it's rough.
It's hard. It's hard. And, you know, especially when you care about what's going on and you want to try and, oh my God, this fruit fly. And you want to try and um keep raising alarm bells so it doesn't feel normal,
Right,
you know?
right, right. And
Um,
it's funny because I also started making Pokemon content, but I know that I'm on there too much whenever my fun accounts start, I'll start like slowly but surely get like political content over there. And I'm like, no, this is my happy space. Stop.
wait,
So I'll click like not interested.
so you have multiple accounts for different things. That's smart.
Yeah, and so my algorithms are completely different, but sometimes they start bleeding into each other and it upsets me because I don't want bad vibes in my fun
I,
accounts.
yes, in your fun accounts, I love it. Um, we have a few callers that are one in particular that is a theist that is waiting for us to hop on, which is exciting. Um, and let's see. Just want to make sure that I said all of the things because I don't think I did. A reminder that super chats of $5 or more we read at the end of the show. I don't know why I'm yawning because
Wake up.
I know, like I actually feel pretty awake, but you know when you yawn once and then your body's like,
Yeah.
well, 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 and I needed to
Yes.
cut it out. Anyway, so super chats of $5 or more will be right at the end of the show. So if you want to send us a fun little message or something you would like to share, or you want to comment about any of the callers, you can do that in a super chat of $5 or more. And we'll read all of the shows and all that good stuff a little bit later. But do you want to take our first theist of the evening?
Yes, I'm ready.
Okay. We are going to pull in Sean, who's calling from California. Hello, Sean.
Hey, how are you?
Good. How are you?
Not too bad. How's your day going?
Good.
Oh, it's going. Tuesdays are busy, so by the time I get to this point of the day, I'm like, I know that I'm going to sleep like a freaking rock later tonight.
Yeah, I hear you.
So what did you want to talk to us about today?
Yeah, just responding to the prompt. Women do not need God.
Yes.
So,
Uh,
can you kind of explain like what you mean by that?
Well, I personally believe that religion is like harmful to women, period. Christianity is
Okay.
harmful to women, especially the Christian
Okay.
God, because I believe that he is sexist. So there's that part of
Okay.
it.
So
Yeah,
I would. Go ahead.
sorry. Go ahead. I was just going to say that I agree, so continue.
Okay, yeah, I was just gonna say, well, number one, I think society needs God, and women benefit the most from that.
Wait,
So
what?
that's
In what way?
well, it allows for the I don't know how I want to word this. Because humanity is by nature patriarchal, it allows the classification of I guess it allows for the imago Dei, and by which we can draw human rights from, which are then extended to women. So outside
Well,
of that, you have simply preferences.
I don't believe that that nature is like that nature is naturally patriarchal. I think that that's something that we
That's a
have.
tough claim to defend.
I don't think that I don't think that that's the case.
If
You can look
we,
at one of our closest relatives in the animal kingdom is bonobos, and that is a matriarchy.
Cool. That has nothing to do with humanity. Humans are by nature patriarchal, and you
I
can
don't
see
think
this
that they
throughout all of
are.
human history, everywhere, at
So
any given
Sean,
point.
if we were naturally patriarchal, why would y'all be working so fucking hard to keep it that way? Wouldn't it just be the natural inclination that everyone just has? And that's not the case.
We don't work hard to keep it that way. That's just how it is, and we're operating within that system.
what? But wait, what about the?
So, like, here's a question. If, like, let's look around the globe. Who do women have to appeal to for their rights, if not men?
Well, but that's the result of a system that was created.
Wait, I have a,
Well,
I have a
it's a result of a
question.
system that is within force. Because at the end of the day, rights come from force, right? Who is the force mechanism?
Well, it's physical force. So you basically what you're saying is that we are naturally patriarchal because you beat us into submission physically.
Yeah, and I'm not saying that's how it should be. I'm saying that is that is
Wait,
the natural way of things.
Sean, are you saying then any man that's stronger than you is giving you your human right because he's not going to beat the shit out of you?
I would say a system in which I cannot physically fight back. Yes, I am at the mercy of that system.
Okay, but don't you think that's kind of caveman-like? Don't you think we've passed that? I'm
I
confused.
think that is the harsh nature of the world, and what religion gives us is a metric by which we can say all humans, man or women, were created in the image of God, therefore they have necessary rights. So just because you can take whatever you want from a woman, you shouldn't.
Right. But
Otherwise is your opinion against mine.
There's plenty of things in the Bible where they treat women as property all throughout the Bible. Like I don't understand what you're saying.
Ancient world, it was a brutal place. Not gonna lie with you, or not gonna argue with you on that one. But I would argue that within the Bible, we see a framework of protection for women. Women are a protected class.
No, we see a protection of property. We see a protection of property is what we see in the Bible.
Right.
Yeah, that's not the same as a protection for women.
Okay. I mean, you can look at it however you want, but because of the interpretation Christians have had on these texts, you've gotten the most, I guess, for lack of a better word, liberal expansion of women's rights ever. And it's because of how Christians viewed these texts and said, look, women were made in the image of God. In the New Testament, we're saying husbands submit to their wives. Paul says there's no man, no woman. There's just the body of Christ. So we see this equalization in the Bible. So, and you may not like some of the texts. I agree with you. Some of them are a tough pill to swallow because the ancient world was a brutal place. However,
that's not
outside of religion, you have no basis to say I am a person with rights. You just have your opinion against mine.
Okay, so you believe without the Bible, women don't have any leg to stand on in saying that we also deserve rights.
Right, because it's your opinion against mine.
Okay,
if I say,
so
well,
Sean,
no, you don't, and I prefer that you don't, then...
Sean, but do you understand how insane it is to say something like that? Because that just tells me that you are actually a piece of shit person with no morals, and the only reason that you are not beating women up... Hey, let me finish my thought. The only reason that you're not out here beating up women, murdering people, cheating on your wife is because the Bible tells you not to. That's not true.
That's not what I said.
But that's what you're saying. You're saying that the Bible is the determining factor for if women have rights or not. So why should I not apply that to the rest of like the 10 Commandments and every other moral code that comes from the Bible?
So what you're doing is an appeal to emotion, right?
It's not an appeal to an emotion. It's not an appeal to emotion. You're telling me that the Bible is setting ethical rules. So why are we going to cherry pick which ethical rules we're going to take? We're going to take all of them.
There's a methodology on how we cherry pick if you'd like to hear it, but that's kind of beside the argument.
Well, it depends on the Christian you ask.
I would love to hear the methodology.
It does depend on the Christian. That's why there are hundreds of or tens of thousands of denominations, is because you guys can never agree on what parts to cherry pick.
Right. Well, I mean, atheism isn't exactly a monolith, so I don't know where you're coming from with that one. But if you'd like to hear the methodology, and then from there maybe it'll expand the discussion. The methodology is, if you break down the laws, you see three sets of laws. You have moral, civil, and ceremonial. The moral laws are the laws that apply to everybody, such as God or thou shalt not kill. All right, those are the same laws that God judged other nations for. You have civil laws, which are like how to take a slave, how to plant your crops. Those were to govern Israel in the time and place that they existed.
Sean.
Then you have the ceremonial laws that were fulfilled in the time of Christ. So you may not like that hermeneutic, but that is a well-established hermeneutic, and it's why and how Christians cherry pick.
Sean, I personally don't care what flavor of Christianity you are. That's not what I'm concerned with when it comes to this topic. And you just mentioned like one of the 10 Commandments. And within the 10 Commandments, they talk about women like they are property. So all of my points still stand.
In that time and place they were.
So then why are you using the Bible as a way to determine that women have rights? If you're telling me in the Bible, you're telling me in the Bible that they don't. So what are you talking about?
So, I mean, we can if you'd like, we can take the Bible out of this. We can just say God. You need an imago Dei to establish human value. Otherwise, why? I mean, because we're all dust floating around on this universe, and that's all going to die a heat death soon anyway, right? So why should I care about your human values outside of the imago Dei, other than you prefer that I do?
What is an
Because-
imago
If there's an
Dei?
argument that if there's imago Dei is image of God. So
I can
if there's
answer
an
that
argument
question.
that
Couldn't
doesn't
just say
either
that.
I can answer that
presuppose
question.
human value. Yeah, I know you can't. That's why I'm saying this is why women need
Can.
God.
She said
I
she
said I
can.
There is no argument.
She said she can
There is
answer
no
that
argument.
question.
There
Okay,
is an
and-
argument,
let's hear it.
Sean. That there is an argument. One of the biggest arguments is that for us to survive as a species, we had to learn we had a better chance of survival if we lived together. To be able to live together in
That's an
peace,
is,
you
not
need
an ought.
rules and law. I didn't
That's an
say
is,
that.
not an
Did I
ought.
say that? Did I say that's an ought? I said that's how we have evolved. Where are you getting
Right, and
that?
I asked why we should. Should presupposes an ought, right?
You don't have to.
So
You can.
you're not
You
answering.
don't have to, Sean. You don't have to. I'm not saying you have to, but if you don't, you're going to end up in
Okay.
jail, or you have to go live in isolation,
Okay.
which makes it really hard to survive. So I'm just saying why
Right,
most
so
people do. You don't have to do that.
Okay, well, to answer your question, this is why women need God, because otherwise you're left with these kind of arguments where, well, you don't have to. I just prefer you don't hurt me.
But I also
Anyway, thanks
I'm
for the call. That was really
confused.
fun.
Wait, are you leaving? What's going on?
What the fuck just happened?
Sean?
He's
sucks.
angry. He's
He's-
angry. And it's funny that he whips out the appeal to emotion. Meanwhile, he's over there
Yeah.
like barely being able to breathe.
Well,
and then
and
he
he
doesn't
also-
and then he says something critical and then runs away before we can respond.
That is so crazy. And also, it's always people who call in like that interrupt us constantly, that have the most degrading things to say. And then they're like, well, the Bible taught me how to respect women. I'm like, well, yeah, and you're
Yeah.
doing a great fucking job.
I know.
Are you kidding
it's
me?
So I hope he doesn't do all of his like interactions like that because that was pretty
Oh
like
my
pathetic.
God. And then he also like it's funny to me that he's saying that that the Bible is what gave us human rights. But we are atheists and we understand the concept of human rights without it. So like what do you
And that pisses him off.
and
And he's just it's so weird to have conversation with people who they act like if something isn't objective, then it's not worth anything at all. And I'm like, you made up that rule. Like he is acting as if we have to get our value from some objective place, and if we don't, nothing matters at all. And it's like, okay, if you want to believe that, but that's not fact. That's how you feel. That's an appeal to emotion, Sean.
Yes. Literally. Oh my God, what a fucking loser. He was like, the way he was talking was cracking me up, and I was messaging Arden, I was like, I want to imitate him so bad because he's just like, and in the Bible, like, relax. Actually,
Chill. Take a breath.
Literally, take a breath. And also, like, no one was attacking you. We were asking
No.
questions. We were laughing at him, which I think is why he hung up.
Oh, yeah, that makes sense. But yeah, that was
Wow.
interesting. All right.
Big strong man. That's crazy. Okay. Well, anyway, we do have another theist. Sorry, I like looked at some of the other calls that are bopping around in here. We have another theist, and then we actually have two. Do you have a preference of which you would like to take first?
Nope, I'm down for either.
Okay, we'll change it up a little bit. I've never spoken to this person. Have you spoken to this person before?
I don't know. I normally don't know until they start talking,
Yeah,
if I'm being honest.
I don't think so. But apparently they call in enough, so you guys might know who this is. We're going to talk to Martain, I assume is how we say his name. Hello?
Hello?
Hi. Do I pronounce your name Martain?
Yeah, Martin.
Martain. Okay.
Got
Nice
it.
to meet you. All right. What did you want to talk about today?
So I saw the title is Women Don't. What's the title? Women Don't Need God?
Mhm.
Yeah, it might. Yeah, or I don't know. Virginity is a myth. It might be. I don't know. It might have switched around.
Okay, I wanted to talk about how a lot, not all feminists, but a lot of sort of Western feminists have pushed sort of quite a victim narrative, and they've gone beyond simply wanting equality to wanting what is essentially preferential treatment, wanting essentially advantages. So I think there is a myth that feminism is primarily about equality. In reality, when we look at legislation that they adopt, often it's about seeking to demand privileges, not equal treatment under the law.
What
And you can see that a
legislation?
lot.
Yeah. What are you
So
talking about?
have you heard of California Senate Bill 826?
No, you have to tell me what that is.
That's essentially positive discrimination on company boards. So you would have preferential treatment in hiring and firing practices in California. It was later struck down by the courts as I believe it violated the Equal Protection Clause. You also have in the UK preferential treatment when it came to parliamentary candidates. So those sorts of issues are instances where I think they're asking for preferential treatment, not equal rights.
So I think when it comes to environments like this, it's important to also recognize that it is valuable to have the input from all different kinds of people in places like government and also in businesses as well. And the reason why those things have to be pen needs to be put to paper for things like that is because very often women are hired less frequently for important roles, especially leadership roles, which makes no sense because there has been research to show that women have better leadership skills than men on average. So we still are in sort of like this phase where we have to be convincing people that we are capable of doing a job. So I think that if those are your only examples of that being the case, I think that that is sort of silly. I mean, here we have, we have different states that will determine whether we can have safe pregnancies. We have the rate of even just domestic violence in the United States for women is crazy. The rate of deaths in pregnancy for a first world country is insane. Even like the scientific research that we do for women's health is absolutely pitiful. Like there is, I think it's 10 times more research on male pattern baldness than there is on both endometriosis and PCOS. And those are conditions that greatly affect a woman's day-to-day life, and they're extremely painful. So, it's like if you want to go tit for tat with stuff like that, we can, but I think it's not really, I think it's
Right.
not worth doing.
And
Because
your
sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, and your only example was a piece of legislation that got shot down.
No, I could also cite the parliamentary candidate lists here in the UK where I'm from. But you mentioned that there was research showing women were better leaders. Which research are you
Yes.
referring to?
I would have to find it for you. I don't know, but you can find that yourself. There is evidence to support that women have on average better leadership skills. And I also think when you consider it this way, I do think it's funny that when we are young, women are put into this sort of role of being more mature. And we see that in oh, he's bullying you because he likes you. Don't worry, he likes you. Just let it go. It's totally fine. It's like all of these little pieces of information, these little messages that we get as young girls. It's even like in classrooms, young girls are typically the ones that are viewed as being like more organized and whatever, these types of things. And boys are allowed to have like a little more time to mature. And then we also actually do factually mature a little bit earlier as well. And then we get to be young adults, and then we're told that we are incapable of doing things. And I would like to know when that shift happens, when we're capable, and carry the load, and then all of a sudden we're not capable anymore.
But who's telling you these things? Is it society in general? Is it people around you? Is it the
Yeah.
media?
It's all of it. It's all
I mean,
of
it's
it.
hard to it's hard to quantify these things. If you look at the education system in both the US and the UK, you actually find girls on average go to university more. So whatever is happening in the university
Yes.
system and the education system, it doesn't seem to be adversely impacting
That's
women.
recent. That's recent. That is very recent. And at least here in the US, it's like 51% women and 49% men. And that is because of the work that feminists did to encourage women to go to school and also to have schools permit them to even go.
Well, it's largely because of equality of opportunity, and that's what I wanted to bring up, which is that people flourish when there's equality of opportunity. But when we try to contrive equality of outcome, often it undermines the respectability of individuals, it undermines their credibility, and it ultimately does a disservice to people when you start trying to force equality of outcome as opposed to just giving
Do you
people
think
the
that
same.
these people are not qualified? Like if they are giving preferential treatment to women so that there is a better distribution of the like a better representation of the people that they are working for, do you think that they're not qualified for those jobs?
Well, actually, there was a Cambridge University study which looked at Argentina, and they found that following the decision to implement quotas, it actually undermined the perceived credibility of women in those positions. This was in politics in Argentina.
Yeah, but that's the perceived credibility. That's based on like people being sexist. It's the same thing that happens here where they talk about DEI and they believe that if there are equal opportunities given to people and they are a like a person of color or whatever, they benefited from the equal opportunity being presented to them, that they're not qualified to do the job, which is not the case.
Also, you want to talk about DEI. Meanwhile, there's like women in the United States dying because they couldn't get reproductive health care. So, like, I don't know. It kind of makes me laugh because women are still fighting like really scary battles where that could lead them to dying. So, like, I don't really care about a random piece of legislation in California that didn't even come to fruition. Like, it doesn't make sense. It's just kind of laughable to me compared to everything else that's going on.
Well, you bring up DEI. I think this is a point that Clarence Thomas actually made, which is that when you have DEI, which basically stands for didn't earn it, you essentially have people.
That's not what DEI means. That's not what DEI means.
That was good banter, but
wait. So
if you look at
I have a question. Are you a white man?
I would say that I'm a man. My skin color, skin color exists on a spectrum. I'm sort of white, you could say.
Okay. So what I think is interesting is the people who have these conversations with us are people who feel personally threatened. And I think that it's kind of funny because if you are in a situation where you feel like your livelihood is threatened by other people having opportunities presented to them, then maybe you should just get better at whatever the skill is. And then in that vein, then it sort of is like, wow, this is great. We're probably going to push a lot of people to work way harder and make a lot more progress. But I also don't like give a shit that in work environments, women get favored. It's like, I don't really care that much. Like women get killed by their partner in this country all the fucking time. The time.
Yeah.
We get horrible treatment in healthcare. We have to pay for items like menstrual products that we have to use every single month. We don't have a choice. And like I don't understand. Like I don't really care that in a work environment they might potentially get a little bit of preferential treatment, which I also, by the way, don't believe that they do. Because when we're talking about this, it's like if we want to talk about men versus women, it's like you want to talk about the workplace. I'm talking about women's lives. I'm talking about whether they live or die at the end of the day. And you're talking about if they get preferential treatment in the fucking office, who cares?
And I also want to mention that almost every single person I talk to about DEI doesn't understand that you have to go through the same training and pass these same tests to get the job. So this idea, let's say like Charlie Kirk, when he said, oh, if I see a black pilot, I'm not sure if he's qualified. that pilot had to pass all of the same trainings and tests the same as anybody else. So every single person I've talked to that brings this up typically does not know what they're talking about. That's why they say they didn't earn it.
Well, let me cite someone who absolutely does know what he's talking about. Have you heard of someone called Kenny Xu in America?
No.
He's an Asian American author. He wrote a really great book called An Inconvenient Minority, which looks at the Ivy League affirmative action programs, which were basically DEI, essentially preferential treatment. He's written a book called An Inconvenient Minority, which looks at how Asians were discriminated against, and to a lesser degree, white candidates. And contrary to what has just been said, the data actually shows very clearly that the grades you needed to get into Harvard were higher for Hispanics than blacks, higher for whites than Hispanics, and higher for Asians than whites. So actually the data shows very clearly that there was a racially discriminatory system in Ivy League admissions, and you can see that from all the literature, and it went all the way up to the Supreme Court. You know, the Supreme Court had to adjudicate on whether or not you could consider race, and so to me, it's actually very clear that DEI does give positive discrimination. It doesn't just give equal opportunities.
Do you think there's more positives when it comes to that kind of things or negatives? Like, let's say in the United States, do you think someone of color has to deal with more of those positive things that are apparently out there or negative?
I think it depends. As I've explained, Asians have to deal with a lot of discrimination prior to the Harvard versus Students for Fair Admissions ruling. But certainly preferential treatment, I think, should be abolished. I think we should just have a completely colorblind system. And
can I ask why you would give a fuck about this when like people in our country are being killed on the street for looking Hispanic?
Okay, if we want to discuss homicide statistics, because it was brought up about 5 minutes ago.
No. I'm wondering why, like, it blows my mind that people are so focused on DEI when we have insane things happening. It feels like people, more conservative people or people within MAGA are just constantly pushing dumb culture war stuff that they don't even know why they give a fuck about. And I don't know why you would give a fuck about this considering how much shit is going on right now. Like, to me, it just feels like a joke.
In terms of why I care about race equality. So say, for example, we had a system
and this is what you choose to focus on?
Let me just finish quickly. Let's say we have a system where blacks have to sit at the back of the bus, and I say, who cares? Who gives an F about it? Because ultimately, people die every day. Why should I care if you sit at the back of the bus? It's not a big issue. You still sit on the bus. Why does it matter to you? Why do you care so much if they have to sit at the back of the bus?
The reason it pisses me off is because people use this topic to be racist to people. Like I just mentioned. Now, if there's somebody in a profession who is black and a woman, they're like, oh, DEI hired, they weren't qualified. It's just a way to keep being racist and thinking like you have a justification for it. That's the reason it pisses me off. That is the way it's being used. So yeah, I don't give a fuck about it.
Well, I mean, here in the UK, we have the Equality Act, which actually prohibits positive discrimination. It prohibits anything like affirmative action. And here in the UK, if you see someone who's a black woman in a position of power, you know that they weren't the recipient of some kind of preferential treatment. So I would say it actually undermines the credibility of people.
Again, do you understand when somebody is hired at a job, they had to go through the same training and the same tests? That, at least for the majority of jobs, that is the truth. So I'm confused. What is the issue?
Yeah, I mean, I was bringing up the Ivy League statistics.
Is that it? Is that the example? Is that the big thing you're worried about?
That's one of the examples I wanted to bring up as a conservative and why I believe in meritocracy and equality of opportunity.
Anything else?
But yes, in what world is this not like who is a woman or a person of color who is working a job that they are not capable of doing? Like, what are you talking about? It is still a meritocracy, even if there is some degree of, hey, let's make sure that we are considering women and minorities, because the natural inclination of people in these businesses is to believe that they're not capable of the job. So, like, and it's also, like, ultimately, again, back to what I had said and what Taylor said too, why do you care about this? Like, ultimately, if you are good at the job that you are wanting to do, you as a person who is, I don't know, allegedly white, I don't know what you are because you didn't tell me, you will probably still get preferential treatment. Like that will most likely still happen. So why do you care? And it's like these conversations are always really, really frustrating to be on the other end of, because if the main thing that I thought about when I thought about like my existence as a woman was that I might not get hired at a job, do you know how much fucking peace I would feel on a day-to-day basis? Like what I think about all the time is that 1/3 of women are sexually assaulted. Like I think all the time about how many women are victims of domestic violence. Like 7.4 million women in 2005 alone were victims of domestic violence. Like so, it's like excuse me if I don't really have a lot of sympathy because it's gotten literally marginally harder for you to get a job, maybe. Like, who cares? Who cares? 1 in 7 women have been stalked by an intimate partner in their lifetime. Do you know how I don't even, and these are things that are like real tangible examples of like true violence. This isn't even like the day-to-day experience of women, which is fucking exhausting. Do you know how exhausting it is that every single day when I get dressed, I have to consider if what I'm wearing is okay or if it's going to put me in a dangerous situation? Like that's insane. And that is something that we all grew up doing. So again, like pardon me if I don't really care that much that like there might be a handful of people who get preferential treatment, which like in what world is a woman going to apply for a job and they give her preferential treatment to get hired? Are you insane? Like you can't really think that that is actually happening.
Well,
Like
it is because
how many
there's now
women how many women are in like the C-suite compared to men? I'm sure it's a fraction. So
how many
why do
women
you
are. So
care?
I couldn't. Yeah, I mean, I think why do you care isn't really the strongest moral argument I've ever heard about a particular issue.
I
And
don't really care if it's a strong moral argument because you are talking to a woman, you are talking to me who is a woman who lives in the experience of being a woman every single day. And we spend thousands of dollars every single year on menstrual products. Which all of our products, by the way, also include a pink tax. So we pay more for the other hygiene products that we have. We have actual violence that we have to deal with every single day. I lived in New York City for a decade. I got catcalled every day of my life. Do you know how unsafe that makes a person feel? And there's nothing I could do
Mhm.
about it. There's nothing I could do about it.
Also,
So like again, I don't really care that it's not like a good moral argument because I think that this is like a stupid conversation. It's like if we were having this conversation and I was like, I am just feeling like the cost of envelopes has gotten to be out of control. It's like, who the fuck cares about the who cares? We have bigger fish to fry. And I also don't
so
believe that women are like really truly getting preferential treatment. I don't really care that in some circumstances there's like some documentation or legislation that says that women should be given preferential treatment. I don't believe that that is happening. And it's also the reason that that rule had to be created is because they were not getting hired because they are women, not because they were not qualified, because they are women. That's why the rule came to be. So now it just
so you
sounds like
brought
you're a
up.
man who's like stomping your feet because you're upset that for once you're not getting preferential treatment. Equality is not the same thing as preferential treatment.
Yeah, I agree. Equality and preferential treatment are different. I'm not against equality. I'm against preferential treatment. But you brought up the issue of domestic violence and violence. Are you aware that 80% of all victims of homicide are men?
Yeah, and you know who kills them? Other men.
Yeah, I'm aware of that.
Other
About
men.
Okay.
So
99.
like I don't so what's the point of saying that to me?
Let me let one of the okay. Let me explain because I've worked in the courts here in the UK for some time, and do you know what one of the biggest drivers of domestic violence is? Because we often find that socioeconomic factors don't have a huge bearing. Do you know what one of the biggest drivers is of domestic violence?
Enlighten me.
it's actually substance abuse. People who take mind-altering drugs are significantly more likely to assault the women in their lives than those who never take mind-altering drugs. And who wants to legalize drugs? It's not conservatives in America. It's not right-wing Republicans who are trying to legalize drugs across the US.
No one wants to legalize like psychoactive drugs. What are you talking about?
Well, haven't
This is also
okay.
what you're presenting to me is also like the essence of a person who has no case, because you're bringing up the use of psychoactive, like of drug use being. I don't actually care what the influence is for why they're murdering their partner. They're murdering their partner. So I don't
But
really.
you should care. Okay, if you want to solve a problem like domestic violence, you should care what causes it and what ultimately can be done to mitigate it. So, in terms of drug policy, I was reading a book by Michael Schellenberger called San Francisco, and he looks at the drug decriminalization efforts across the US, particularly in California, which have been pushed through by the ACLU, by various liberal organizations, and he finds that actually drug use has skyrocketed in those areas. He finds that rates of theft, rates of violence have gone up. And overall, it's been a disastrous policy. So in terms of looking at combating domestic violence, one of the best things we could do is to bring in significant controls on drug use, potentially also bring in controls on those who have a history of alcoholism, accessing alcohol. There are lots of things we could do, but
Sure. Sure. If that's what you want to do, fine. But like, do you think that there's going to be that substantial of a change in violence against women in their own home?
Yeah, I think a lot of people who engage in violence would desist if you took away the drug and substance abuse things that were going on in their lives. So yeah, I think there could be a significant change in violence across the country if you had a really good drug strategy. Absolutely.
Okay. I don't know anything about the correlation between crime and drug legislation, so I have nothing to add to that part of the conversation. What I care most is about the lived experience of women, and actually, someone just contributed this into the chat, which is also a really great statistic that homicide is the #1 cause of death for pregnant women in the United States.
Also, I want to point out the fact that, again, you're pointing to something that you're like, oh, they want to do that. I'm like, this is the part that makes me laugh, is you're like talking about things people want to do. Meanwhile, people are suffering in real ways because of things that the Trump administration is doing now, but you want people to give a fuck about what certain people want or what may happen. Like, I don't know, that's why the entire like woke thing is an absolute joke to me, because when you guys give me examples, they're honestly just pathetic examples that I'm not sure why it's some kind of emergency. People should care about it, considering people are getting gunned down on the streets. It doesn't make any sense to me. I think it's literally just beneficial to the Trump administration to get people to care about bullshit that doesn't matter. That's why he's constantly bringing up trans people in every single opportunity he can. Why do you think he does that? He does it out of nowhere because he wants the people to believe there's this fake enemy out there, which is wokeness, which is dumb.
I think Trump does it because Trump and many Republicans care about something called truth, which seems to have been a bit absent on the left-hand side of the
Oh,
fucking
Martine. Martine, my sweet baby boy, that is the craziest thing I've ever heard. And actually, if you believe that the Trump administration is telling the truth, then I don't trust actually any statistic that you presented to us, literally at all. Like, actually, at all. There was like a whole, wasn't it an
Trump
entire...
Trump
there
is
was
so
an
truthful.
there was an entire, what's it called? They analyzed all of the lies that he told in his first presidency. Wasn't it like 30,000 lies in his first term? What are you talking about? They care about the truth.
And Trump is so truthful that he doesn't want anyone to ever be able to like track his taxes and look at his taxes or be held accountable for literally anything. Is that something an honest person would do?
Well, this is all just sort of ad hominem attacks. Essentially, you brought up the whole trans issue, and I was commenting on the fact that many Republicans care about
It's
truth,
not an
and
ad
Democrats
hominem.
are more.
I directly addressed what you said about him being honest. How is
Yeah,
that
no,
an ad
you said
hominem?
that the Trump administration was bringing up. Was it? You said they were bringing up trans issues.
Yes.
Yeah, they're bringing that up because there is an attack on objective truth. There is a sort of relativist, postmodern, whatever you want to call it, attack on science, on objective truth.
Yeah, and my argument is it has nothing to do with truth and all to do with bullshit. He does it because he thinks it
No,
gets people worked up and he wants them invested in shit like that instead of paying attention to the fact that he's literally having people slaughtered on the street. That is my argument.
the Republican administration wants us to look at the scientific data on trans issues, and
Why are they always
research.
defunding any kind of scientific research if they care about fucking science?
But it's also, again, why the fuck do you care what happens with trans people? They're like 1% of our population. Why is there so much conversation about the dangers that they present, which is, by the way, not real. They are not dangerous. Like, so what are you talking about? Why?
Yeah, I care
So
because
what you do is actually what all Republican conservative MAGA people do, which is you have all of these like made up issues that are the reason for why your life is hard. And your life is hard because DEI and feminism and trans issues
And immigrants.
and immigrants. And these are all like Trojan horses when ultimately the reason why our lives are harder is because Republicans have the worst economic policies documented, economic policies, and they wreck our economy every single time. They don't give a shit about any human rights. They don't care. And they insist on picking the scab of all of these little tiny issues. Trans people who just want to be like essentially left alone to do things privately. And all you people do is think about what is in their pants, which is fucking weird, by the way. Why are you even thinking about that? That is weird. So I just like don't. It feels sort of like fruitless to have conversations with people who are like MAGA conservatives because what you believe to be a problem in this country is not a problem. These are made up problems. And then they put all of this emotional weight behind it to make you feel like that's where you could point the finger to.
And meanwhile, we could talk all day about things that Trump has done that's super harmful. And you can point to California and be like, there was this piece of legislation that didn't even pass. And there are some people that want to do this. Do you see how that is laughable when those are your examples? And we have examples of people actually just dying.
No, so it's not laughable. The Reverend Martin Luther King once said that injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere.
Yeah, and I'm sure Martin Luther King would be thrilled.
I'm
sure he would be thrilled to know that there are initiatives to help Black folks be able to get better opportunities, equal opportunities, and you have decided that that's too much for you. Because God forbid you have to compete. You have to compete now with also minorities and women to get jobs. You also are a lawyer.
No,
like you're not competing with these people for jobs. Like you have your own little fucking thing. You're a lawyer. Who cares?
Also, this great injustice you're talking about is at some Ivy League school, which I don't even know is true. That's your example. You don't think that's ridiculous?
No, I can give sort of discussion of the far-reaching consequences, and that's what Kenny Xu does in his book, which I cited earlier. He sort of looks at the university system, but then he also goes broader. He looks at corporate America. He looks at businesses up and down the land, and so he does actually show quite clearly that it isn't just something that's confined to university admissions. It can affect employment opportunities. And what I like
it can, it could, it maybe will. Like, it's ridiculous.
It's
ridiculous. You can't
point
point to real world things happening. Meanwhile, we could point to 1,000. That's why it's a joke. That is why your argument is an absolute joke and should never be taken seriously because you're chasing an invisible boogeyman, which is wokeness, and it's pathetic.
Like ultimately, and it's always this group of people that wants like to have the conversation about, men used to be men and whatever. And it's like, okay, if you really feel that way, grow up. Grow up. I like, what do you mean? This is such a ridiculous non-issue. It just is. And like I would strongly encourage you to take a look elsewhere at what might be contributing to what makes your life hard. Like, sorry, I want to just ask, are you perceiving your life to be difficult right now?
Not particularly, no. Not here in
Okay,
the UK.
so then what the fuck are we talking about? What are we talking
Yeah,
about? What is this for?
I'm kind of over this because this is just actual Trump brainwashing in
It's like,
action. It's
but
like
this is, but
really
it's always people who have well-paying jobs, who have an education, who want to talk about, who's probably white passing, I'm assuming, if you had a complicated answer to that question, wants to call in and talk about how women are, God forbid, getting opportunities. When we know that the main demographic of people who are going to be selected for jobs and who are going to be paid the most are white men. Still to this day. So why? And by the way, you're telling me that your life is not harder. So why are you obsessed with these boogeymen that are not actually affecting you per your own answer to the question, which is your life hard? No? Great. Great.
Well, something doesn't need to affect a person directly for them to be able to analyze the data.
What
to
a
look at
joke.
arguments
So who are
for
you
both
protecting?
I'm
sides.
over this.
Who are you protecting? I would like to know.
I believe people like me and people in the Republican Party are protecting the 14th Amendment to the US Constitution, which provides
I'm over this.
ultimately
I'm so fucking over this.
equal protection under the law. So I think that
Oh boy, I
like-
really hope that white men can survive the plight that they are experiencing right now. Must be so difficult for them. You know how ridiculous you sound? Really. Like, and I don't like to actually be mean to the people who call, and I feel like I am being very mean, but this is a ridiculous conversation. And like I have nothing to say to a person who thinks that DEI initiatives are doing anything if you are openly telling me that your life is not any harder as a result of them.
It's because the MAGA movement, that is literally all they have. All Republicans have, all conservative has is culture war stuff. That's all they have. They're shitty for the economy. They're shitty for human rights. They're literally shitty for everything. And so they always constantly bring up the culture wars, which is an invisible boogeyman. Again, why Trump has to bring up trans people every opportunity he can, so that way we're not focused on all of the hot garbage that's going on that is his fault. Like us being in a war for no fucking reason. And it works on people like this man because he's worried about woke DEI in California, and that's gonna ruin our country. Like, it's actually just, oh my gosh, this fruit fly, I'm gonna kill it. It's just dumb. It's just dumb. It's just brain rot. I can't do it. I'm tired of this conversation. I want it to be
Okay,
over.
I just am gonna hang up because I don't really care about saying bye to him. All I wanted to say the whole time was that like you're using all of these things as a scapegoat, and in reality, I think that like maybe look inward. Is it your personality? Like what is it? Like what is it that's making your life so hard that you feel like you need to be a warrior for these people who don't fucking need you, by the way. They don't need you. You know who does? Actually, minorities. You know who does? Women. We need you. We need your help still.
This is, again, I just think this is the only way their movement is going to keep going, is to make up these boogeymen to like these hypothetical problems, because what else do they have? Like, genuinely, what else do they have? Nothing. All they have is fake rage to
Truly.
sell other people. It's stupid.
Oh my God. It's just so literally fake rage. And again, like anytime people bring up trans people, I always am like, why are you thinking about other people's genitals, you fucking freak show?
It's gross.
What is wrong with you?
Honestly.
Like, genuinely, you're a pervert. What is wrong with you? Stop thinking about other people's genitals, you freak.
They have nothing better to do.
My God. Anyway, um, that was so annoying. That was so annoying.
Yeah, that was bad.
Okay, well, thank you all for sticking with us through that one because wow, he's annoying. And I don't believe that we've spoken to him before, so that was our first experience with him, and he is such a pain in the ass. And also racist, and also misogynist, and also transphobic. So
I must know with 100% certainty that he believes in the great replacement theory and bullshit like that.
100% he does.
So people like that, I have a really hard time talking to because they're actually just living in delusion.
Yes.
We're not living in the same reality, so I don't know how to even have a conversation with them. Yeah.
But when he was like, well, they care about something called fact.
Yeah, exactly.
What,
That
Mr.
was so
Mr.
funny.
30,000 lies cares about that we heard out loud? Could you imagine the other things he said?
Oh my God.
Imagine
Yeah,
the
good
level of
stuff.
delusion you have to have. That is so crazy. Well, as a reminder, super chats of $5 or more will be read at the end of the show. And if you are not a patron already, we have some really cool stuff that is rolling out for the patrons. I think the $10 or more tier specifically, but there is a tier that is $5. So, do whatever suits your budget, but please do help support us. You can go to patreon.com/calltheline to do that. And I believe if you sign up now, you will get invited to the call that we're having on Thursday to talk about the new fun ways that our patrons are going to be involved in some of our shows. So, now is a great time.
That is going to be, sorry, I forgot to send you this note, but I heard you saying it and I was like, oh, it's actually going to be tomorrow at 4 p.m. For all patrons, including the free tier. So
amazing.
Jimmy will walk you guys through how to use the new LinePod newsroom app and talk to you about what it's for and all that good stuff. So, yeah.
Amazing.
Why does that man owe the line $200?
Oh, it's from a different show, maybe with Jovan, maybe.
Can you guys explain that in the chat? I'm curious. That's random.
Yeah,
okay.
Explain it in the chat, and I'm gonna pull up our schedule for the next week so that I can let you know what's happening. Okay, so today is the 28th, tomorrow is the 29th. The hang up at 6 p.m. with Matt. Always. And on Thursday, there is TACIS at 2 p.m. with Josie and Riverboat Jack. At 5 p.m., Calling It Now with Luxander and Forrest. Ooh, that'll be fun. And then 8 p.m., The Line has a podcast with Jovan and Jimmy. I will be driving back to California that day, so I will not be on. And where's the rest of the... Oh, I guess that's all that's in here right now, which is weird. So... tune into those shows, then you'll hear about the rest of them because it just says no shows for the rest of the week, which is not true. But you guys know it's our mostly our regular schedule. So tune in like you do every week. And I think that's all of my announcements and things. Do you have a preference of the next call you would like to take?
Probably just 3.
Okay.
I don't know.
Okay, I'm gonna pull in James, who is a theist calling from Connecticut. Hello, James.
Hello. How you doing?
Good. How are you?
I'm living large. I'm eating some coconut covered almonds from Trader Joe's, having a decent night.
Ooh, nice. Yum. Where in Connecticut are you, if you don't mind me asking, generally?
I don't mind at all. Oh my goodness gracious, no worries. I live on the shoreline of Connecticut in a small little town called Old Saybrook.
Whoa. Okay,
Nice.
I ask because where my parents live is close to like the not quite Greenwich. Greenwich is like a little further away, but we're like on the line of Connecticut. So I was gonna say, if you were close, I was gonna go out my window and yell James really loud and see if you could hear it. But
I can hear you.
Anyway.
Greenwich is the upper rich part of the state. I don't
my
quite
God.
live there. I live in the lower rich part of the state.
Oh, I love it. I love it. Yeah, Greenwich is bougie. Anyways, what did you want to talk to us about today?
I don't know. So, well, first off, I just want to say, before we talk about anything, I would love to say that I want to show you both nothing but respect, love, admiration, compassion, and I'm going to do my best to not get heated and interrupt y'all. And I hope that we can do that mutually together.
Okay,
right.
I love that plan.
Amen, amen. But yeah, so I don't know, any of the three topics that you got plopping around there on the screen that have to do with God, like the God's ego is embarrassing, or like religion is hurtful to women, or like the women don't need religion. Any of those three intrigue me very much as somebody whose life was changed by Jesus 7 years ago very drastically.
Okay. What do you have to say about which one is
show.
speaking to you? Well, which one do you feel most passionate about?
I would say probably I would just say, so like when you say like religion is hurtful to women, I'm just curious as to like what examples you would pull from, or like which religion specifically. Are we talking mainly about Christianity or like all religion? Yeah, like that one kind of pops out initially.
When it comes to like real world harms, it's just used as a tool of oppression. And typically when I'm talking about religion, I'm talking about the Abrahamic religions because those are the most popular religions and they are oppressive to women. So, yeah.
Okay. Do you have like examples of how, like, I guess we'll just stick with the Christian wheelhouse since I'm a Christian, but
Yeah.
do you have examples of how Christianity is kind of used as a cudgel against women specifically?
Yeah. Especially like in current day with how politics and stuff is going. The only reason that Roe versus Wade was overturned was due to religious people. That is literally the only thing that got that overturned. So because of Christians' beliefs about God, they get to take away a woman's choice. They get to take away her choices when it comes to her health care. That's a huge one because it literally leads to people's deaths and it's life altering. Another big one is there is a growing movement within like Turning Point and Pete Hegseth's pastor and all of the men in that space where they believe there should be one household vote because of how the Bible essentially says the man should be the leader of every single household. So they want to use that. There's just many things in the Bible that come down to women should stay home, women should have kids, women shouldn't be going to college, women shouldn't be doing this, shouldn't be doing that. And they want to make that everybody else's problem due to Christianity. I mean, it's literally just them forcing their religion onto everybody else.
Okay. So I would say what I heard, or most of what I heard you say were like politically driven examples. Like I would say that I'm someone who does not believe in the one household vote. I think that's an absolutely horrendously terrible idea. And I think it has many a logical flaw. Like what would a single woman do? She just doesn't get a vote. What would, like, I know they want to purport like the family vote. It's like, all right, what would a single man do who doesn't have a wife, like, or kids? So like that's so. But I would say, like, I don't know that those ideas necessarily are upheld within the Bible, and I think that those are more of like the red pilly people kind of going really far in the other direction.
I would first argue that you cannot separate politics and religion, first of all, because that goes back thousands of years. They've always been intertwined, always, because religion is used as a tool to gain power. But that's the biggest way that it's harming women. And they can point to certain specific Bible verses and say that it's justified, just like any other Christian can for, like, you can point to a Bible verse and say, this is why I believe the one household vote doesn't make sense. And they can point to a different one and say, this is why it does make sense. That's why it's really frustrating when people are using a book that's thousands of years old that viewed women as property to get their morality and then to intertwine it with our politics and control other people's lives based around it. That's a huge issue to me. And that's the biggest issue to me. Besides the fact that there's a bunch of cultural stuff, like if you grew up within Christianity, there's all sorts of things that are harmful. One of the biggest ones being purity culture, telling young women and girls that if you have sex, you're a smashed up piece of cake, chewed up piece of gum, and whatever else, all sorts of different things that are extremely harmful, including which I think is to like the hammering into their heads that they need to submit to a man and they don't need to go to college. And the most important thing is growing the church. All of that stuff I find to be pretty harmful.
Well, so again, I would agree with you that those ideas are harmful ideas, but my stance is that those ideas are not in the Bible. And since you are the one that is making the claim that they are, the burden of proof is on you to cite where they come up in the Bible.
Oh, they would just point to any verse. I mean, there's verses like in Genesis where it says your husband will rule over you. I'm sure they would point to that and say, this is why we need a household vote. Or they would point to
Where's
literally
that in Genesis?
I could find it. Hold on.
Yeah, Alyssa can look it up. But my point is you can literally point to anything. There's a reason that there's like tens of thousands of denominations within Christianity. It's not, the Bible is not clear at all. People interpret it however they want to. So, in my opinion, your interpretation of it is just as valid as theirs, and that's where my issue lies.
Well, I would argue that it's not an interpretation, and I would argue so the Bible is black and white and clear when it's black and white and clear. It's metaphorical when it's metaphorical. It uses a bunch of different literary devices to get specific points across, like the Book of Psalms, for example. Those are just a collection of poems and songs written mostly by King David, right? And he uses a lot of similes and metaphors and things that and we don't read those and go, that's literal, because I know it's a poem or a song, right? Whereas if I read the 10 Commandments, that would be something that's more literal because it's the 10 Commandments. So
but many Christians
depend on. Oh, go
ahead,
sorry.
Many Christians cannot agree on what to take literal and what to not.
Oh, I would agree with you. I would say that, but I would argue that most of the people in this country that say that they're a religion of any kind, let alone Christianity, aren't actually as well read on their religion as they should be, and aren't actually in the text as much as they should be. For example, right, the idea that women need to submit to men, right? Ephesians 5:21 says that in a marriage, men and women should both submit to one another. That's pretty clear. That's pretty straightforward. Again, men and women should submit to one another. And then the rest of the chapter, right, the rest of the subsequent verses outline the way in which each of them does so in the context of a marriage. And it says that a man should submit to a woman the way in which Christ submitted to the church. And what did Christ do for the church? He died for the church, right? So if anything, that sounds like the man has a lot of submitting to do to his wife in marriage, right? It's a partnership. So the Christian view of marriage,
to me, it doesn't sound like a partnership at all. And number one, there's a lot of things in the Bible that contradict themselves. Like I said, Alyssa looked it up. It's Genesis 3:16. God literally says that your husband will rule over you. And on top of that, in that Bible verse, they're literally giving the man a higher power of position over the woman by comparing the women to church and the men to God. I find a huge issue with that. That to me does not signal partnership whatsoever, because I don't picture God having a partnership with the church. I picture the church needs God. There is no church without God. God doesn't need the church. He's obviously more important than the church.
Well, it's not that God needs, but God wants the church, right? So God doesn't need for anything. He's God, like you just said, right? He's God. He's more important, right? So God doesn't need anything. He wants it, which is so incredible that the infinitely powerful God of the universe
which is more important?
Little itty bitty old me.
Which is more important, and which one gets to decide everything? Is it the church or is it God?
Well, in which context? Or just mean in
any
general?
Context, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. So like, obviously, God is the creator of the universe. So yeah, God has
Right.
the say of what goes within the
Right.
universe.
Right. So comparing men to God and then women to the church is not describing an equal partnership at all.
Well, no, but again, I think we have to go through the full context of Ephesians 5 to understand what's being said. Again, like in the verse or in the part of the chapter where it's talking about the context of marriage, it is not this oppressive, like the man is the god over the woman and she's under his thumb. Again, like it says, treat the wife as Christ did the church. And Christ, again, died for the church. So, again, when I hear that, I go, okay, I got to freaking trip over myself every 2 seconds to make sure that I am putting my wife's needs over my own. Because like you said, right, like God's
That's a
more
different
important
topic
than the
entirely.
church.
That's a different topic
Well, but that's what we were
entirely.
talking about.
No, I'm talking about power dynamics. You're like, I see Christian men do this like a lot, where basically they are defending they're defending the sexism, or they're defending giving men more power or more whatever leadership over women by saying, oh, well, we have to protect you. Oh, we have to sacrifice a lot too. That doesn't change the fact that God is giving men power over women. That doesn't change anything.
Well, again, where is this? Again, Galatians 3:28 says that men and women are equals. It says there is neither Jew nor Greek, neither male nor female. We are all one in Christ Jesus.
Okay, and in Genesis 3:16 it says that your husband will rule over you. There's a ton of things that are contradicting in the Bible. That's why I said you can point to anything and basically justify anything, because there's everything in there.
I'm in Genesis 3:16 right now, and it says, to the woman he said, I will make your pains in childbearing very severe. With painful labor you will give birth to children. Your desire will be for your husband, and he will rule over you.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the main crux of that verse is about child labor.
Yeah, which was also the pain of child labor was also a punishment.
Well, yes, but in the context of the fact that both Adam and Eve fell away and sinned.
What does that change about the husband ruling over the woman, though? What does that change?
Well, again, the husband, in that specific context, it does not say that the husband is going to rule over the woman in the sense that she is under his thumb and she's his slave, and everything that he does, she has to. I've had this conversation with other Christians.
Oh, so it's soft.
Like, oh my God.
Soft sexism. It's like not hard sexism. It's soft sexism. So it's like he's not going to rule like in a bad way.
Are you granting me, for the sake of this conversation, that like God is the creator of the universe, again, within the framework of this argument, that God is the creator of the universe, that the Christian God is the creator of the universe, that the Bible is true, and that we're trying to parse through what's being said in the Bible?
Oh, okay. Okay. But one of my biggest points is this is why we shouldn't use the Bible as a means to our morality or to create laws, is because of this shit right here that we're talking about. Like, why should we have to like debate over a book that's thousands of years old to pass laws to discriminate against people? It's ridiculous.
I also
the question is that, like, okay, like we're saying y'all's claim was like, okay, the Bible is oppressive towards women. And I'm like, all right, so let's look through the Bible and see if we can find where it's oppressive towards women. And then you brought me to Genesis 3:16. So again, like if we're going to grant within the framework of this discussion that all of this is true, because we have to grant that if we're going to argue about it, like there is a hierarchy, right? God, if God is in fact the creator of all things, would you not grant that what God says about things would objectively be how they should go? Yes or no?
Right. And it would be sexism still, though.
Okay, but so you've now, if you've on one hand granted that God is the creator of all things and what he says goes, but then in the same breath you criticized it.
Right, because
it's still the logical disconnect there.
There is no logical disconnect. It's still by definition sexism. It doesn't matter if that's how he wants it to be. That just means he wants it to be sexist.
Well, no, I guess, but my ask was, if God is the creator of everything, everything he says goes, and therefore it would be right and true, correct?
Yeah, so you're just arguing that there is supposed to be sexism.
No. Again, like I said, if God created everything, his standard would be what's right and true. Therefore, criticism of it, the criticism would be incorrect. Correct?
James, so then the definition wouldn't be the definition anymore, because that's the only way you can get there, is by if you're ignoring what sexism means. So if you really have to stretch that far, I guess, but it doesn't make any sense.
I am still maintaining that sexism is wrong within this. I'm just trying to show you how this is not sexist.
But it is, because it's having a much harsher punishment for a woman, and also granting the man ownership over her. And so that is sexist. It's an unequal power imbalance that's being created. So it doesn't really matter if it's like Hitler believed that everything that he was saying was true, and he still is one of the most atrocious people who's ever lived. By the way, a Christian.
Also, do you recognize that it sounds like a cop-out to be like, you describe this thing that is inherently sexist when you give power to one gender over the other, but then you say, oh, because God does it, it's actually not a negative thing anymore, and actually that word doesn't mean what it means anymore. That, to me, is a cop-out. That doesn't make any sense.
Well, again, this conversation is going in a million different directions, potentially, because then this now would beg the question, like, by what standard are we deeming anything to be immoral or moral? Is morality objective or subjective? That's a completely different philosophical discussion, which does bear importance on what we're talking about, and we can certainly talk about that, but I don't know if you want to stick to this or go down that road.
Yeah, because I'm not talking about the morality or if it's moral or immoral, that God is sexist, but he just is by definition of the word.
Well, but I would take it that your position is that sexism is immoral, and therefore that's why it's wrong that God is sexist.
Well, yeah.
Okay, so then that would then beg the question: by what standard is anything immoral or moral?
No. You don't get to take that there.
Do you believe that sexism is not immoral?
I believe that sexism is very immoral.
Okay, so then what are we talking about?
Well, the claim here is that this particular portion of the Bible, or that the through line of the Bible, is sexist, and I am trying to demonstrate how that is not sexist. My demonstration would be that God.
So then you switch to how we get our morality.
It's interesting.
If we're talking about, on its face, like a moral criticism of anything that God does, like, is borrowing a standard from God to use against him, which is illogical.
Who cares?
But that's illogical.
I think you went to that because you can't explain to me why the word sexism doesn't mean what it means anymore once God is doing it. Then all of a sudden we have to talk about the basis of morality, and I feel like Christians do this every single time they're backed into a corner. Then they say, oh, well, you can't actually have morality because you don't believe in an objective God, and I think it's cheap.
Well, no, I'm not arguing that one cannot find a sense of morality without religion, or that one cannot know that something is immoral, right? It's not that one cannot know that something is immoral. My argument would be that one cannot know why something is immoral, which is a different conversation.
Yeah, it is a different conversation.
Right. So again, what I'm saying is, like, in the context, if you're granting me within the framework of this argument, right, or the framework of this discussion, that God is the creator of the universe. God's standard is what is objectively correct, is what is objectively moral, is what is good, is what is true. If you're granting me all of those things, then any criticism against it would put you automatically in the wrong.
So
You failed to defend your own
sexism,
argument.
No,
so
it wouldn't.
sexism is good. Sexism is good and true and moral. 'Cause
Exactly.
that's-
James, the argument you have to be
No, no,
making
no,
right
no.
now
I'm not
is
talking about
that
sexism
it doesn't
here. I'm not
matter.
talking
It
about
doesn't
sexism.
matter,
but we
James.
are. But that's what the topic is.
You're
Like,
getting
that's
confused about like who cares if it's good or not. That's not what I'm saying. Like you're saying that if God created it that way, it should be that way. And I'm saying sure. And you're saying therefore it's not sexist. It's still sexist. Like I don't understand what is confusing about that. It doesn't have to do with morality or anything. It's still the definition of sexism. You're just arguing that sexism is good if God says it's good, and that's it.
Well, again, here's what I'm trying to say. If there was a hierarchy that the creator of the universe created, right, and it was like God is the head of everything, and then because God created man first, then man is second and is subservient to God, and then God created man, or then God created woman after man. So then in the context of that hierarchy, which is really only applicable in marriage, right, the woman would be the helpmate to the husband, and then underneath that would be the children if they have children, and then the children are subservient both to the man and the woman. So again, this is all in the context of marriage. This has nothing to do with anything outside of marriage. And so if that's the context of a marriage, and the Lord designed marriage to function a specific, it'd be like if I created the hairbrush, and I designed the hairbrush to be used a very specific way. People can use a hairbrush to brush their teeth if they want to, but it's not going to function properly, and they're going to have a hard time doing
James,
it. And that's not what
I don't need the
example.
analogy,
Yeah, but the example that we're talking about is God made the hairbrush and told people how to use the hairbrush. And then people are using the hairbrush in exactly that way, and that way is sexist. So this is not something that's being like, it's a pretty direct line to like what he described is sexist, and period. That's just what it is.
I do want to point out, James, that this is one thing that frustrates me when talking to Christian men about this topic, because they will say that the Bible and God isn't sexist. They'll say that, right? But then by the end of the conversation, they are trying to convince me that sexism is actually good because that's how God set it up. I wish that you would just say that.
I'm not convincing you that sexism is good in any single way.
You are.
What I'm saying is you're taking Genesis 3:16 and then ignoring the fact that Galatians 3:28 exists.
No, I'm
and
not
Ephesians
ignoring it.
5:21
I know
exists.
it's there. I know it's there, and it doesn't change anything.
So what are we to do with them, though?
What do you mean?
So what I'm saying is it's always important to judge scripture against other scripture. If you're going to
I don't think so. I don't think so at all. I don't think so at all, because I don't think the Bible is univocal, and I think that's clear.
Well, if you're going to take one verse of scripture and just pluck it and say like this means this, then like
that's what Christians do.
Obviously, well, I think that's what people who haven't read their Bibles do. That say they're Christians.
I think they've read their Bibles. I think some of them have read their Bible. Some of them have. Some of them haven't. It makes no difference, because how can you say that when there are priests and preachers advocating for the one household vote? Have they just not read their Bible? Have they been giving sermons this whole time and they never read their Bible?
I mean, I would argue that they don't have a solid, tenuous grasp on what Scripture is saying.
And you
Absolutely,
do.
I would debate those people till the end of the earth.
Well, but you know what I think is interesting is when we get to like this kind of part of the conversation, it's interesting to think about, because what is the purpose of this book and this text if it can be interpreted in so many different ways? And some of those ways are violent and hurtful, but some of those ways are loving and just. Then it's sort of like, okay, well then what value does this provide if it is not able to provide, like it's not going to give people a universally positive value. So why value it at all? You're then depending too much. You're depending too much, I think, on the person who is interpreting it. And and the people who are interpreting it are going to do it the way that they want to. Like, actually, I
Right.
think you'll find this interesting, James, because it's like exactly what you're describing. So my mom
Mhm.
is religious, and like truly one of the most like and I feel like this is sort of what you're getting at. There are people who like really try to act in the image of Jesus and
Amen.
do that from a place of love and all those things. So like that's very much my mom's vibe as well. But she's very critical of the places where she feels she needs to be critical. And one of those
Mhm.
is the stance on abortion rights. And so she
Mhm.
had learned that in the Bible, particularly in the New Testament, Jesus never brings up abortion at all, not once. And when it does come up in the Old Testament, they talk about it that saying that life begins at breath. The word in Hebrew translates to breath. So, if a baby is born, you can't murder it. But if it has not had breath, then it is not life. And so, actually, by the Bible, abortion is not a problem. So my mom had learned this. She's in Bible study. She learned this, and she reached out to a deacon that she knows. And I don't know if I
Mhm.
told you this, Taylor, because it was like so gangster of my mom that she did this. And she was like, "Hey, I just learned this thing, and I'm just wondering like what your thought is." And he responded, and he said, "Well, there are parts of Christianity that are based in the Bible, and there are parts of it that are based in tradition." And she was like, "Well, okay, but like slavery was tradition, and then we realized it was wrong. So we
Hmm.
stopped doing it." And he never answered her. He was like, "I'm gonna have to look
Mhm.
into that." And then he never answered her. And
Right.
so
Mhm.
isn't that funny? So like we're like leaving too much to the people interpreting it, and the text is not clear because it contradicts itself over and over again. So then I start to think, what is the value of this? What is the
Right.
point? You just are going to have to rely on the people who are interpreting it to hopefully do the right humanistic thing, when in reality it's like, well, I would rather just be a humanist and, have my
Right.
morals derive from wanting the best for the people around me.
Right.
Do you mind if I ask what denomination your mother is?
Yeah, she's a Catholic.
Okay, that's what I figured. Because all right. So I would like that specific flavor of Christianity would say that it's based on tradition. I myself I don't belong to a particular denomination. I just say that I'm a follower of Jesus first and foremost, and then the scriptures, right? And so, like, to me, man-made traditions have no place in Christian. Like, it's not about a religion, right? It's about cultivating a relationship with the living God of the universe, who loves all of us, quite literally all of us, more than anything, and he wants a relationship with us. Like, that is what Christianity is about. That is what Jesus is about. It's not about following a set of rules and do's and don'ts and earning your way to heaven. The Bible says you can't even earn your way to heaven, right? It says that, like, everything, like, we're all sinners and we all fall short of the glory of God, and everything we all do is wrong by God's perfect moral standard. And so the only way we can be saved is if we hitch our wagon to Jesus, and God sacrificed himself for us in the form of Jesus, as that's the most loving action, right, of all time. So again, all of these traditions and things, I would say, muddy the waters of what the actual scripture is saying. And again, like I said, I would to your mother's deacon, I would have a debate with your mother's deacon, and I would say, let's talk about what the scripture says here. So I would be more on the side of your mother, right, and in calling out that little caveat of, like, well, some parts are based in tradition, right? Like, I don't agree with that.
Right. So there's a lot of debate to be had. That's why we don't think we should base our lives around that book. It doesn't make sense to.
Well, I guess so. The
There's no
crux of
there's nothing you can do to prove that how you view it is correct versus another Christian. There's no way to do it. That's why they call it the no true
well, what if I
Scotsman
told you there
fallacy.
was, though? What if
Is
like
it
I don't think
if
this
you're
is
gonna
no
point
true
to
Scotsman at
if you're
all.
gonna point to something in the Bible, that doesn't work.
Well, no, but all I'm saying is I don't think this is no true Scotsman. I think it's like there when it comes, like, I think people have a misconception I think people
And they
who
think
haven't
you
read
have a
much of the Bible.
misconception.
Well, no, but what I'm saying is I think people who haven't read much of the Bible have this misconception that like, well, all right, like there's all these different interpretations and like therefore we must give equal validity to all of it, right? And therefore it's not based in any sort of objectivity within the framework of the text itself, right? But like that wouldn't be true of anything, right? Like people can believe a number of things about anything on this earth, but that doesn't mean that all the beliefs are valid, right? If I said I believe that the moon is made of cheese, like that's a belief I can have, but it's like there's an objectivity around that, correct?
There is no, like the Bible isn't objective, and that's like the point.
No, also the material
we're talking
of the
about
moon,
the internal
not objective.
critique of the Bible, though, is what I'm saying. Like within the internal critique of the Bible itself, if that's our framework, we're internally critiquing the text. I'm saying within that, as applicable to itself, there is an objectivity about what is trying to be communicated.
Yeah, I don't agree with that at all. And I also would be careful when you keep on saying that, oh, these people just haven't read the Bible. There are a ton of atheists that I know. There are a ton of different denominations that I know that have read that thing like front to back. So I'm not sure why you bring that up.
I'm not making like a sweeping generalization. I would say, I just think, again, I think I'm saying most people that I have talked to about this, I find that they have not, like, again, like I brought up Galatians 3:28 and Ephesians 5:21. I'm not trying to throw shade at the two of y'all at all. Like you are very smart people, obviously, like, but you were not aware of those two verses until I just
yes, I was
during this call.
Yeah, no, I absolutely was. It just doesn't change what I brought up at all. That's why whenever you bring up something,
why would it not change it though?
Because it's still saying what it says. Like I said, I do not believe the Bible is univocal because it isn't. We know for a fact the Bible is not a univocal piece of work. So why would I care what one part of the Bible says? If it says something else in another section.
In the Old Testament, in the Old Testament, it says like that eating shellfish is an abomination. But then in Mark 7:14 through 19, Jesus declares all foods clean to eat.
Right.
Do you think that that's important? Do you think it's important that, like, does that mean that now we still have to consider eating shellfish an abomination, even though Jesus said, nope, just like not anymore? Like, I think it's an important distinction that Jesus made for a reason, right? So I think it's important to compare pieces. Like if I just cherry picked the verse that said shellfish eating is an abomination and ignored Mark 7:14 through 19, like that's not good.
Do you just take the one that's most recent and that's the one you go with? How do you get to these places? Like, how do you decide what doesn't count and what does?
Are you actually, I would love to answer that question. Are you actually interested in hearing the answer? Because I meant the gentleman that was speaking before, the last British dude, kind of tried to tell y'all this, but like he did a very bad job. And I saw like both the chats, like virtual eyes and your eyes glazing over because he just like was throwing a lot at you that like made no sense. But if you're actually interested in hearing this answer, I can tell you, I can answer this question.
Really quick, my issue is that you described to me that you think God's system is dependent on sexism because he is giving one power to a certain sex over another. But then you say that the verse later on describes it as a partnership, and I didn't know that, which I did know that. So I'm confused. Do you agree with what Genesis said or with what it said in the New Testament? Like, what you're saying isn't making any sense.
If you take what Genesis 3:16 says and just pretend that that's the only thing we know exists, then it certainly sounds like the man, the husband in the marriage,
that's how you described
it. To be this like, wait, I'm sorry. So I couldn't hear you very well.
You described it as a man being over a woman, and I don't care if you describe it as like harsh sexism versus sex or soft sexism where he's like really nice about it. I don't really care if he's like nice about it. It's just still what it is.
I think there's a misconception about, again, the hierarchical structure of marriage.
I understand,
right?
it.
Look at it like this. Like if there's a sports team, there's a head coach and an assistant coach, correct? Like
I understand it.
The team is designed that way, right? Somebody's got to be the head coach.
That.
if I will concede, if the Lord designed it in which that men are supposed to be subservient to women, then I would be, because that's how it is designed. And I don't mean subservient in the sense that like they are lesser or supposed to be under some and do whatever he says.
That's
right?
not
like,
what I said.
So somebody has to be the leader, right? Someone has to be. It's either going to be the man or the woman.
No, that's made up.
Well, again, of course, but you granted me that it was made up. You granted me that within the framework of this discussion that it was made up by God.
What? Well, God doesn't have to create it any kind of way. He could have created it without someone being the leader. So I'm not understanding what you're saying.
Well, that's correct. He could have created it that way, but this is the way he did create it.
Right, and that's fine.
You granted me that within the framework of this discussion.
Right. And that still doesn't mean it's not sexist. Anyways, I think we're talking in circles, but I think we should probably move on. But I would love for you to call back and maybe
before we move on, I
appreciate this dialogue very much. You guys are very nice.
Yeah.
Before we move on, I wanted to ask. Oh shit! You know what? I lost my train of thought. Okay. Anyway, call back, James, another time, and hopefully I will remember what I was gonna say.
Yeah, no worries.
We appreciate the chat, and you're welcome to call back anytime.
But of course, have a good night, and hey, Jesus loves you both.
Bye.
Bye, James.
Bye.
It always like kind of makes me mad when people say that to me.
You know what makes me mad? Is when I perfectly understand what someone's saying and they keep giving me analogies. James, if you call back, stop with the analogies. I know exactly what you meant the first time.
Well, I also think that in those moments you should give them the context of like why like, because maybe he really didn't think that you do know, like there's a possibility that it's like some level of ignorance, but it is funny to have the assumption that you don't know. And I actually think, and I wonder actually what James would say about this. I think that many atheists know more biblical text than Christian people do.
Right. That happens a lot because a lot of times also atheists will go through like a faith crisis where they're trying to like build up their faith stronger, and they start to read the Bible. At least that's how it happened for me, and I know a lot of other people. And so that's why when he said, "Oh, you didn't know this was in the Bible," I'm like, "No, I definitely did know that was there. It just doesn't change anything."
I'm going to collect a bunch of verses from the Bible that are sexist. I don't know why I didn't do this earlier, but I always forget to write them down because then when people ask, I want to be able to just have them on hand.
Right. And I've said this before, but I'll say it again. I wish so badly. I would actually respect it more if a Christian man came on here and said, "Hey, I think that this sexist framework is how it's meant to be." And they would call it what it is, because like what James did, he described sexism and says this is just the way it's supposed to be, which is fine if he thinks that. I mean, it's not, but that's what you think. So just don't say it's not sexist and skip to the part where we talk about why you think that it should be that way or whatever. You know what I mean? It's just, I hate all of that because it takes like an hour to get to the point where they're just explaining to me why sexism is good. I'm like, why couldn't we have started there?
Oh my God, I know. Yeah, well, that was sort of like a funny part of that conversation when we were just kind of like, okay, but you're agreeing that it's sexist,
but he like wouldn't say it. He wouldn't.
Yeah,
say
right.
It.
I know. Well, all right. Well, we do have. I think we have some other theists. Do we? I think we have, we do have another theist who wants to continue this conversation. Do you want to continue this conversation or do you want to break it up?
Yeah, let's get it over with. And
we're in a flow now. We're in a flow state. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. I'm going to pull in Adam, who's calling from somewhere in the US. Hello, Adam.
Hey, how's it going?
Good. How are you?
Doing pretty good.
Wonderful. So you wanted to talk about how God is not sexist. Where would you like to start with this conversation?
Yeah, do you guys think Allah of Islam is sexist?
Do I think
I think Islam is sexist. Yeah, I think it's a sexist religion.
Do you think it's more or less sexist than Christianity?
I think it's really hard to quantify that because it depends on like I guess what type, like what kind of denomination slash sect or whatever, and then like where you're at, what time period. I think it really I think it's hard to quantify that, honestly.
Yeah. There are fundamentalists in both religions, and then there are people who are, have a very, very, very sort of like loose understanding or practice of their religion.
Well, I'll just pull up some things from the text. I want to see if you guys believe that these are sexist or not. Do you think that women can be considered a right-hand possession and deemed as property?
Wait, we do think it's sexist. We do think it's sexist. We don't need to go over these verses. I think there is sexist stuff in the Quran. I already know that.
So this is my issue that I find with, I think, a lot of liberals, because I'm an ex-Muslim myself. So I left the religion. I've been to the Middle East. It is not a friendly place. Some parts are fine for women, like in Jordan, in Lebanon, in parts of the UAE, but you go to the majority of the Middle East, it's not good for women. And I think, especially upper middle class women here in the United States bitch and complain about white Christian men, but they do very little to actually advocate for true oppression of women, which is happening in the Middle East. And so that's my issue, I think, with what you guys are doing. I don't understand why you guys are not protesting for women's rights in the Middle East or complaining about religious Islamic fundamentalists. It just doesn't make sense to me.
Well, first of all, I do think that's an issue, and I do think feminists care about that. But number two, I think it makes sense that people oftentimes care the most about what's happening in their country because their lives are directly affected and everybody else is directly affected around them. So I think that's only human that we would be talking about that because we have to live in the conditions that are created by Christianity right now. There's plenty I could say about Islam. But one of the issues with that, one of the reasons it's kind of hard to do that is because people get racist very quickly. People typically when I hear, especially Christians, because I grew up with it, when they criticize a Muslim, typically they are just being racist. So sometimes when I look at the Muslims living in the United States, I really see them being hated and like shit on constantly. And it's frustrating because I don't feel like I can criticize it without Christians coming in on it and being racist. So that's honestly a hard part about it. And maybe if Christians weren't so racist, and maybe if people who criticize Islam weren't so racist, people would feel more comfortable criticizing it and knowing there wasn't going to be a huge dog pile and more hate crimes towards them. Because we're at the point now, hold on, I want to say something. We're at the point right now where a Muslim is elected as mayor of New York and everybody's saying he shouldn't be allowed to be a mayor because of 9/11. That's insane. That is insane. So to me, they're really struggling over here. So like, that's one of the reasons I don't talk about it is because Christians are so racist towards them in the first place.
So what you're doing is that you're afraid that there's going to be some type of backlash, and by doing so, you're actually not advocating on behalf of women.
Where did I talk about? Hold on, Adam. Where did I talk about backlash? I literally sat here and explained to you why it is hard.
You could advocate. I know you're saying through your if you wanted to advocate, then through that, advocating that there might be backlash to Muslims in the Christian world or by Christians. And number one, Christians are not allowed, nowhere you'll find this biblically based, to attack or harm or demean or hurt Muslims. Nowhere. And if
that means no Christians do that. That means no Christians do that, right? Because the Bible says that. Okay, then why do I care what the Bible says?
We live in a country and we live in a society where we allow Christian churches have interfaith dialogues with Muslims all the time, and we actually allow millions of Muslims into our country through
oh my
migration.
God, give me a fucking break. Our country is literally being run by Christian nationalists, and you're so concerned that there are citizens that are Muslim. Give me a fucking break. This is why I don't talk about it, because it's bullshit. And typically it's fucking racist. typically it's fucking
If it's
racist
so
because you're
racist, why do we
talking
allow
about immigrants.
Muslims in?
You're not actually talking about Islam. You're just being racist and you just hate immigrants.
No, if
Like,
it's so
that's why I
racist, why
don't
do we allow
fucking talk
Muslim
about
migrants?
this. You're giving a great example as to why I don't fucking talk about this. If you
I'm
were to,
saying if our country is so racist, why was my family allowed in this country? We were able to get a job. We're able to live freely.
Do you not remember the Muslim ban?
We
had a Muslim ban
in school.
We literally
We
had
had
a Muslim
ban like recently. What do you mean?
I'm saying first of all, we banned certain countries that had terroristic ideologies, which I perfectly agree with. 100%. Why? Because I left Islam. Those same Muslims want my head. They think that I should die in their state.
Fucking
So,
God.
yeah, I don't want them coming into this country.
I don't want Christian nationalists running this country because they treat women like second-class citizens. How about that?
Women are being oppressed in Muslim countries.
How about I don't want Christian nationalists to be in charge in my country because they treat women like second-class citizens? What about that? What about the fact that they want to take away reproductive health care? What about that? What?
You're treated like a second-class citizen?
They're working on it. That's why
real?
they're taking away reproductive rights. That's why they want a one household vote. Yes, I'm for real. I grew up in it. I lived it.
Wait, hold on a second. Hold on a second, Adam. Hold on a second. Well, I just looked up like the guidelines for Sharia law because that's the phrase that I hear people say all the time. They're like, "We're gonna have Sharia law."
Oh
Okay.
my gosh,
well, Mom Donnie's wife is like a fucking smoke show and wouldn't like whatever. Anyway, and when I look at many of the principles of Sharia law, it looks like what Christian nationalists are trying to do here. So I'm confused about why you think that Christian nationalism is not a problem and that it's not oppressive enough to also be an issue. And it's kind of like someone in the chat like jokingly said, well, today we're not going to talk about Bundy and we're going to talk about Dahmer instead. And that like is kind of how this feels. It's like, okay, well, so if both are bad, what are we talking about?
Because you're comparing apples and oranges.
You are comparing apples and oranges. You are the one who called.
I think it's all the same. I think it's all the same. Like you're the one.
We are atheists. So
can you let me respond to why it's apples and oranges? If you go to these Muslim countries, women are not even allowed to step outside in certain countries. They're not allowed to go without a guardian. Okay,
I understand.
That's completely different than somebody saying we don't want abortion. It's night and day.
We're not talking about Islam.
Adam,
we're not talking about Islam.
Adam, you win. You win. Your sexism is better than their sexism. Now what? Now what? Your sexism is better.
No,
okay,
I'm saying
next.
You're putting all this emphasis. You're not actually targeting an actual issue of sexism. Women are not even seen as human. They're seen as property. Okay, if you guys were so outraged by sexism, go on behalf of those people. Stop voting for or stop, protesting on behalf of Gaza and Ukraine. Go protest on behalf of women and women's suffrage in the Middle East.
Adam, again, you're just, this entire argument from you is just whataboutism because you don't actually want to take accountability for literally anything. Obviously, the people who live in the United States are typically going to be concerned about what's happening in the United States, right? That makes sense?
Not just the United States. We're worried about what's happening in Gaza, in Ukraine, in a bunch of other countries. So why not worry about women in those other countries too?
I do worry about them.
We are.
I literally do.
We're worried about those as well.
So where's the protest for women's suffrage in Saudi Arabia or Egypt? Where?
How? Okay.
What is that? What? Protesting here for there.
You guys actually don't care about women. You guys just hate white men. That's it. And I'm an Arab. I'm not even white.
Adam. Holy fuck. You need to relax.
Yeah.
You need to relax. If you listened to this show, you listened to us have conversations with people that we disagreed with, and when they stay calm, we have productive conversations. You are coming onto this show and yelling and screaming, and it's making you sound, first of all, unintelligent, and it's making you sound insane. So just take a second and act reasonable for a moment. The stakes literally could not be lower. This is a call-in show on fucking YouTube. Holy
Great.
shit. Oh my God. Okay. Oh, my mother texted me from upstairs. She said, "What the heck?" Right. Because why are you yelling? Oh my God.
I feel like I was just responding to you guys'
No, Adam,
your tone.
you were
My
yelling.
my bad if I'm yelling. I don't mean to
It's-
yell. This again, we get heated sometimes. This is like a very Arab thing. I didn't mean to do that, so I am sorry. I'm just trying to respond to you guys. That's it.
I understand that that these topics are emotional, and it's important that we stay emotional about these things because it holds the importance. Okay, so I understand the need to be emotional in general about these things. Where I think that we're sort of like speaking past each other is no one is saying that the Muslim women are not having really horrible things happen to them. Like, no one is saying that. And that is also deeply important. Like, I can't remember exactly when it was, but recently there were even more restrictions that were placed on women where like they can't sing, they can't dance, they can't leave without. And I remembered seeing that all over my social media the day that happened because it's horrible. And so I think that there's like a thing where what's happening, and maybe this is not the case, but what I feel like is happening is our algorithms show us things that they think we will respond to. And so maybe in your algorithm it's not showing you the ways in which people are outraged, but I promise you they are. And I don't want to discourage you from keeping that outrage because I think it's appropriate to have. However, we are not saying that that's not, that's not that's not an appropriate way to feel.
But when you're saying that there's outrage, there just isn't. And you know what's so sad? And again, I don't like what Trump's doing in the Middle East. I don't like what Israel's doing. But when I see, for instance, Iranian women, and I know many of them, they all left Islam. They're ex-Muslims. They all left it for reasons of suffrage, by the way. When I see them going out and protesting what the Iranian regime is doing, and I see crazy people on the left saying, we like Khomeini, we like these individuals. Why? Because they stand against the white, oppressive, patriarchal Christian male. For me, that's crazy because the most oppressive countries are not Christian countries. You guys are able to speak. You're able to be free, to walk freely. The most oppressive countries are Muslim countries to women.
But no one is saying that that's not the case. No one is saying that that's not the case. I think that everyone agrees. Everyone agrees that women are more oppressed in parts of the Middle East. No one is telling you that that's not the case. However, I personally don't know what I could do to contribute to fixing that. But I do know that here in the United States, it is so important that it is actually life or death for women in this country that we talk about the right to a safe and freely available abortion. Like to be able to have not a family vote, to be able to have women actually vote. To be like, these are things that I know the conversations that I have here reach other Americans who can then also vote and create change. Like, not everyone can be an expert on every single thing. Like, what am I supposed to do? I can share outrage with you, and I do. I understand. I deeply understand. And like I said, I want you to keep that level of outrage and anger because I think that that's appropriate. And that anger is what helps change happen. But you have to also allow for, like, the people, it makes sense that what we are worried about is what happens in our country.
But do you know what we can do? It's very simple. We can sanction countries that do oppress women. It's that simple. Like,
but
again,
I can't sanction a country.
I'm not saying you, but you guys or feminists in general can create enough outrage that I think most people would stand by it. If you say that the minimum age for a child to get married is 9, and parents can send their 9-year-old child to
I
a
know.
50-year-old. That's sick. So my
I
point
know,
is,
but
if
but
there's
Adam,
enough
but the
outrage,
reason I
we
know,
can
the
change
reason I know
policy.
about these
The problem
things.
is most people are scared to say anything because they're scared
No,
to be
I don't think
Islamophobic.
so. No, I don't think
Oh,
so. I don't think so.
100%,
I really
yeah.
don't. The reason why
Okay.
I know about that rule about marriage 9 years old is the minimum, and the reason why I know that there was like a further restriction on what women are able to do is because the accounts that I follow, who are feminist accounts, did share that information, and the comments are full of outrage. So I really think that there is a degree. I understand, like I understand what you're saying. However, I do think that there is more outrage than what you're experiencing, which and I'm not saying that you are like, what you're experiencing is not a situation where you're like, why is no one else fucking pissed and scared and trying to, I'm not saying that. I think that you're not seeing it, but I promise you, as a woman who is a feminist and makes a point to surround myself with other people who are feminists, I did see it. That's the reason why I know.
And also, I want to mention the fact that we do have child marriage in the US. You can get married as young as 16 in some states. That's 1 year above what you said was absolutely disgusting.
No, I said 9. 9 is absolutely disgusting. 16, I think if a 16-year-old marries an 18-year-old, that's fine. They have the age of consent. A 9-year-old is still a child. So that is child marriage.
I think
So-
It is,
16-year-old
but-
is a child.
That's a whole different thing. I mean, see, this is my whole point. She jumps to, America has 16. It's like we're comparing apples and oranges. Like, stop doing that.
But no one is
Children are being
comparing
sold
those
into
things.
slavery.
No one is comparing
just did.
no one is comparing those things. Because you called in and wanted us to compare those things. We did not. This is not
No,
the
I'm
topic
saying
of
you
this
guys should have
show.
same
The topic of the
outrage
show
for
was not.
what's happening there.
But we are
I'm not-
women
okay,
who
you guys
have.
are
We
saying
are
you
women
guys
in the
are
United
great,
States.
Adam,
This is
I
not a
don't-
people on the
news
left
show.
are not.
Adam,
Like-
I don't think you understand what me and Alyssa even do for work. I'm not just like a feminist. I talk about ex-Christian content because I'm literally an ex-Christian. So I can relate to a lot of people who left religion. That's what I talk about. And Alyssa talks about sex and dating and stuff like that, which includes feminism. So we both have things that include feminism. But my whole goal isn't just feminism. So I'm not sure what this argument even is. We're both coming at it from a place that we understand and we know.
I would like to also
have
ask.
you had any ex-Muslim women on your show yet?
I don't know, but we would welcome them if they wanted
And
to. We would absolutely welcome them
on. Would you guys be
on.
able to do that? Have a lady like Ayan Hirsi Ali. Would that be fair?
What? What did you say?
I don't know who that is.
I don't know who
ex-Muslim
Hirsi Ali is, a
feminist.
Christian.
She's a famous woman. She went like on tour with Richard Dawkins.
But
she
she's
was an
Christian,
ex-Muslim
no?
lady. I think she's atheist or Christian. I don't know what she is.
She used to be atheist. She's currently a Christian. So no, she wouldn't be on the show ever.
Oh. Maybe there's many other atheist ex-Muslims though.
But we would welcome them on. But I want to just ask you, what do you do in your day-to-day life in terms of advocacy for the human rights of Muslim people?
What do you mean for the human rights of Muslim people?
But that's what this
What does that even
conversation
mean?
that's what this conversation is about. It's about women not having human rights and your outrage for that, and the outrage about that conversation not feeling present enough for you. So what do you do to and part of that, by the way, is calling in and asking this question. That is some level of advocacy. But I would like to know, like, what does advocacy look like for you specifically with this topic?
What is it's personal to me because I know women that don't have the access to things that most
I know
women
it's
here in
personal,
America
but
do.
how are you
saying
contributing to
personally,
helping? Like, how are you helping?
Personally, again, with the women that I know personally, I do try and help them as much as possible. One of them is ex-Muslims of North America, where they do outreach to women that are being forced to go to basically enter marriages overseas. They're literally taking these young girls here in America, forcing them, their parents are forcing them into marriages overseas. So you guys can support organizations like that. I definitely support those organizations. So
amazing. Thank you for sharing that.
But I'm saying on the left, this is my whole issue. I see this left and right. They accuse people, if you speak about it, of being Islamophobic, and that actually harms women more than anything. That's my point. That's the issue with what's going on right now.
Well, you understand that, like, that people who are American and in American politics will talk about what happens with women in America.
And
primarily.
Also, me and Alyssa do see those criticisms. There was a woman recently who said she was going to move to Afghanistan to marry this man.
Oh my God, that woman.
And they had hundreds of thousands of comments saying, do not do that, and like had all sorts of things to say. So I know you might not see it in your algorithm, but you need to think about the way that you're saying things, because if you say you don't care about this, and I do, but then you say, oh, they're all coming to the United States, it makes it sound like this is actually more of an issue you have with like immigrants and people coming here in general and weirder things beyond just Islam. And that
I don't
my entire point.
Islamist fundamentalists moving to this country. I'm 100% honest. I don't want to see that. I don't want to see it happen in Europe. I think there are plenty of good Muslims that are refugees and that are genuine seekers to find something better. A lot of them come from Iran, Somalia, places like that.
Okay.
But there's a lot of Islamists, and there's a lot of
but those fundamentalists
and they won't. Yeah, and I'm against. And they harm their kids here. And I'm against the fundamentalism. I'm also against the fundamentalism that is literally in charge right now. Like, we have religious extremists in charge right now, and they might not be as bad as like some other countries, but who cares? Like,
no, they're not even close. They're not even close.
Okay, it feels insane to me that we see one Muslim get elected as mayor, right? And they get shit on relentlessly. Yeah. And you're trying to convince everybody that the big issue is that Islamist extremists are coming to this country. Meanwhile, we have Christian nationalists in office. Like, that is what is so frustrating about this thing, is because you're kind of like, let's not talk about this thing. Let's talk about this over here. And it feels like you're just coming up with ways to avoid any of the criticisms we have towards Christian nationalism.
What's that
again,
phrase?
I'm just saying we're comparing, like, if it's women's rights, it again is comparing apples and oranges. It really truly is. It's like me saying that, you know, the sun or the moon is as big as the sun. Like, it's just not even.
No,
it's not even
your
close.
argument.
But it doesn't have to be. They don't have.
Your argument is like people helping women who have domestic violence issues and being like, wait, why aren't you helping kids? It's worse when it happens to kids.
No, I'm saying if we're saying that the root of abortion, or like the abortion issue, is as similar or equally as similar as women not even, like, in some countries, by the way, women are not even allowed to like open their voice out in public or show their face out in public because it's seen as something that will entice men. So even their representation in public is seen as so sinful that it's going to entice men. And if they're raped by those men, the women are blamed.
Know.
So
we know.
comparing that to abortion laws.
But we're not comparing those things, Adam.
No,
Adam, we're not comparing those things. We're not. Like, that is objectively much, much, much worse. But it's the whole thing of, like, you have to put the oxygen mask on yourself first. Like, we also are having problems, and we can more directly fix them. Like, it doesn't make sense to have as much focus on a different country where, like, I have no involvement in what decisions are made there, but in the United States I do, like, because we are able to vote, and, like, you know, so that's why the conversation happens.
Don't we have involvement in Ukraine and in Gaza and in certain countries around the world? Like, aren't people actively protesting what's happening there? Even though it doesn't affect us here, we still do that. And it's funny because a lot of people are doing that, but they won't do it over women's rights or even slavery.
Do you think,
some countries in the Middle East still have slavery?
Don't you think they're protesting that because we're directly funding it?
Right.
We're not directly funding the oppression of women in Afghanistan.
No, but we're actively funding certain countries that are propagating this stuff. That's my issue with what's going on. So, and if you, again, say anything about Islam or you're called Islamophobic, and for me, that's just ridiculous. It's so stupid. And by the way, Muslims don't, by and large, I'm saying the more fundamentalist type, maybe there's a lot of liberal Muslims, but the more conservative ones, they don't support any liberal policy. They don't support
we're aware.
gay rights, women's rights,
We're aware.
none of that.
That's
no
why
one is disagreeing with you.
That's why I don't want. That's why I don't want any religious extremists in power. That's why I don't want anybody to put their religion into politics. I would say the same thing if a Muslim did it, and I am saying the same thing. So I'm not sure what your issue is. Like I know you so badly want us to talk about something else.
If you say that, then I'm taking your word for it. I'm just saying y'all should have a Muslim, ex-Muslim on here, a woman that's actually suffering like so horribly behest to what Muslims are doing. And there's a lot out there. You can go check out North American.
And they are free to call in whenever they want.
And also, like,
call in whenever they want.
I would like to hear the names that you wanted to share, actually, because I think that that's helpful for us and for the people who listen. And like I always say to people who call in and they're really passionate about something, like you have a voice and you have the ability to share these things. And so if you feel like it's not loud enough for you, then that is information for you. Like, take this somewhere where you can continue the advocacy in your own life and like expand it. Like, I think the energy that you have wanting to advocate for these women is beautiful. And so keep doing that, but find find other ways to like expand on that, because, you know, coming on here and sort of having like the suffering Olympics, it's like we could do that all day, but that doesn't help anyone. But what does?
No, I'm not trying to have the suffering Olympics. I'm really not. I'm just trying to say it's so easy to attack the white man, the white Christian man. He's the patriarchal, horrible guy. But it's like, by and large, I've dealt with Christian guys. I've dealt with Muslim guys. Muslim guys, 10 out of 10. The fundamentalist types on both sides.
Yeah, but no one's disagreeing with
Muslim
you.
Types will not even listen to what you guys are saying.
But no one's disagreeing with you. No one's disagreeing with you.
But that's not.
So we're not supposed to complain. But we're not supposed to want better for ourselves because someone else is doing something worse.
Someone else has it worse.
That's like kindergarten. You learn that doesn't make sense. Like, I should not want my healthcare.
And then somebody, like, it's just like, if we truly care, if there are no true borders and we care about women all across the world, we should actually be advocating for all women, not just women here in America.
And there are a ton of people who do.
Are very privileged. There are
a ton of people who do.
Access to a bunch of things.
But Adam, if I can, with my vote here, make a change, it makes sense for me to be advocating, because the people that I speak to can also vote, like, actively to make changes. I have no idea what I would need to do to help those women beyond, sharing in the outrage and supporting the people who do know how to get closer to, that issue. But like, I wouldn't, like, it doesn't make sense to compare.
I can explain it to you. Look, there's a girl, her name's Sarah Hayder, and there's a guy's name's Muhammad Saeed. I can send like their links. They're, again, a part of ex-Muslims of North America. They and a lot of other ex-Muslims, many ex-Muslims from Iran, etc., and many just like good people in general, what we can do as a nation is sanction governments. By the way, there's a lot of them that we don't. We can sanction those governments that don't give women rights or that don't give Black people rights. By the way, slavery still exists in countries like Mauritania, in Niger, in Libya, and we don't talk about it. There is zero, like, we don't have any advocacy over that. We care about what's happening in Gaza. We care about what's happening in Ukraine, but we don't care
because
about
we have
what
a
those
direct
people
tie.
are going through.
Yeah, but there's direct cause and effect. And I understand
we do trade
also
with those countries, so we can actually sanction them. That's my point. But
I
we
also
don't
think
want to in this country. It's very weird, and I think we need to change that. That's my point.
Do Do you think what is happening here is impacting our ability to care about like other things like that? Like, do you think it's a shit show over here and we have a lot to deal with, or no?
You
don't.
Shit show. No.
Okay, so a bunch of people, people getting
been
shot by ICE on the street, and there's no investigations. That's not a big deal to you,
ma'am. I've been to the Middle East. I can tell you, we live in luxury here.
Most people didn't say
outside
it was
of the country.
Hold on. Hold on.
My dad is Palestinian. My dad is Palestinian.
One second.
We really gotta wrap up.
Yeah, we have to wrap up. But I also, again, I don't want to get into the suffering Olympics because I think it is silly and it doesn't make sense. I think it is totally fine and appropriate for you to be very, very passionate about this. And I think that there's a way that you can really create change with this advocacy. I also think it's not appropriate to say that we shouldn't be worried about things that are happening here. But and we can also continue to be concerned about what happens over there. There's a much more direct cause and effect to the advocacy that we have here in the United States. And so we need some level of understanding that like that is what makes sense. But I don't think that the outrage you have is unwarranted. Does that make sense?
Okay. Yeah. I appreciate y'all's time. Thank you guys.
Okay. Have a good rest of your day, Adam.
Take care. Appreciate it.
Bye-bye. Woo!
FYI, we actually had an ex-Muslim woman who we were going to bring on, but she got really transphobic, and so
shit.
she got the boot.
It's I get accused of this all the time on like my other socials where they say that like I'm so afraid to criticize Islam, which I have actually done so many times in videos where I talk about that too. Like it won't be the topic of discussion, but I'll talk about it. And I've also talked to many ex-Muslims in my DMs because they don't have a lot of representation as far as like ex-Muslims creating content for obvious reasons. And okay, I hope that guy actually cares about what he says he cares about, but I also am skeptical that he gives a fuck about that at all. But if he does, hopefully he focuses on helping himself.
What are we supposed to, we're supposed to, and I know we have to do super chats. I promise I'll be really fast, Arden. What are we, if we were to zone in too much on what's happening in other countries, things are going to happen here that we're going to completely miss because we're going to be, focusing elsewhere.
Chaos like that's here. It is chaos here.
Yeah. Anyway. All right, let's get to these super chats and we'll go through them quickly. Arden, maybe message us.
Controlling them since you have it on your end. I can do it, but I just didn't know if you guys have been the hosts have been.
We haven't been doing them, so I actually don't really know how to do it yet.
If you want to go to the funding queue, I can show you really quick. You should see like the one that's highlighted on banner, and there's one below it, and you can just hit send, and it'll go.
Oh, cool. Okay,
so you can kind of control your own pace.
Okay. Oh my God, we have a lot of them. Okay, let's do speed round super chats. Okay, this is 100 of a currency that I will be honest, I don't immediately recognize, and said, finally, peace, which is really nice. And someone in the chat, tell me what currency that is. Thank you so much.
$10 from the atheist mechanic. Get yourself some Faraday bags. Flock cameras are a nuisance. I'm not sure if I know what those are.
I don't know, but we don't have time to figure out. Okay, next. 5 pounds for Mystic Mind Analysis. I'm going to a Comic-Con this Saturday. When is it acceptable to ask fellow cosplayers for social media info? I worry about asking too quickly. You can ask whenever. You guys are all in the same place. You all are in the same exact place.
I also feel like social media isn't super personal, so
yeah,
I feel like
exactly.
It's fine to ask.
Exactly.
$10 from Diablos, I don't know. Kindly eat the shit you spew, Sean. You pompous clown. You make people puke. Okay. Yeah.
$5 from Joshua Everett. Sean has never been in the room when a woman finished a sentence. No, and you know what? That's really good. I liked that. Very good. Very good. All right.
Is it Michelle or Michael?
I'm Michael.
Michael from Oklahoma. $5. I've only been here a few months, but every time I think I've heard the bottom of the misogyny barrel, I'm shown I'm wrong. Read a different book, Sean.
Yeah. $5 from Pliable Pinky. Martain owes Jovan and the line $250 to call in again. He's scummy as fuck unless he paid. I'm sure he did not. I'm sure he did not.
Michael from Oklahoma, $5. Women. History shows that you haven't done the work, so you can't. Then DEI shows you can't do the work because you were allowed to. That's crappy.
Right. Exactly. That's really funny. $5 from Mo, and then a bunch of letters. Prophecy. Martin is going to call Alyssa and or Taylor confused and has annoying vocal fry. I don't think he did call us confused. He just said a whole bunch of other crap.
$2 from JM. Is that it all? Or yeah, $2 from MJ. Thumbs up. Thanks.
$5 from Echo Annihilation. Martain is a little bitch who owes Jovan $250 because of his bullshit, and in my opinion, should owe $50 per host from this.
Yeah, add another 100. It's $350 now.
That's really funny.
Michael from Oklahoma, $5. Mediocrity, the system where white men are considered to be the only ones with merit. I'm not afraid to be the only equal with others. Why are you, what is it, Martin?
Yeah, Martin. $5 from Mo. I've worked in the courts in the UK, and if I don't see it, it doesn't happen, and vice versa. Martin, hashtag vocal fry, hashtag misogynist. I know. It's always funny when we have people who call in and they're like, you know, successful, educated people, and they just say the stupidest shit you ever heard.
Yeah, it makes me question a lot. Secular felinist? Lynn, I don't know, $5. When you have privilege, equality feels like oppression. Yes, F you, Martin.
Yes. $20 from Kelly Bean. When I was in a domestic violence support group, a lot of our partners had substance abuse issues. Some got sober and were still domestic abusers. It just means they have two problems: substance abuse and being an abuser. Yeah. Good point.
Idle Bits, $10. Listening to Alyssa go off on Martin was chef's kiss. His
pedantic
obsession with one of relatively meaningless problems in comparison to larger systematic ones is hard to listen to. Yeah.
That's what I felt like a lot of these calls were today. Like, why are you obsessed with this one thing? $5 Australian from Dusk Frame. My contribution to the stuff Martain into a locker fund. That's funny.
Space Barbarian, $5 from Space Barbarian. Here's $5 from Martain to buy a personality. Just kidding. It's for the show.
Nice. Thank you so much. $10 from K King Dom. Ask him what the leading cause of substance abuse is in America. I wish I saw this while he was still on the phone.
$10 from Don Quixote.
Don Quixote, that's funny.
Wait, I don't get it.
Don Quixote is it the author or is it the name of the book? I think it's the name of a book.
Oh. It's not just Republicans, but the right wing broadly who push for vapid, destructive policies that make everybody or everyone but the richest and whitest among us worse, as evidenced by Martain. Fuck Martain. I feel like I've said his name so much out loud.
I know. Also confirmed it is the title and not the author. 10 pounds, Chris Powell. Nothing sadder than a British maggot. I know.
Preach. Or Maple MAGA is also really rough.
Yeah.
$5 from Mo. I'm not really interested in what you have to say, but let me tell you about this book that aids my insecurity, Martin.
Right.
Hashtag dishonest.
Yeah, I think that's supposed to be dishonest. $5 from Elliot K. Martain doesn't get to talk about morality if he's going to defend a dude who was found to have assaulted women. Yeah, I feel like we don't talk about that enough, that Trump had to pay $5 million fucking dollars.
Yeah. $5 from Dr. Barber. The regulatory policies literally give people diarrhea.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. 10 Canadian dollars from Pure Form 42. Martain is so annoying. Love how you both handled him. That was perfect. He still owes Jovan $250.
Now it's $350.
Yeah.
Michael from Oklahoma, $5. My white man distress is almost zero. My distress at MAGA is high. Alyssa, on your rare unleashing of Martain, both of you are too kind to him. True.
I don't even remember yelling at him, but I guess I did. $5 from Joshua Everett. Sweet, the new Patreon tiers are up. Everyone should check them out now. I'm going to jump on the Line Pod editor tier. Yeah, thank you so much, Joshua. That is really nice. And the new tiers are really cool. So yeah, everyone check them out if you haven't yet.
$20 from Benjamin. Online incel dialogue. Do you think guys with cumulative small t relationship trauma get lumped into the ideology? They often speak from pure heart trauma and powerlessness, not an ideology. How do we distinguish the two?
Online incel dialogue.
It's hard to distinguish the two sometimes.
I think that the problem is is that when you feel owed success in dating and relationships, it's hard to really understand and confront rejection. Like rejection is already hard enough because we take everything so personally, when in reality, like 9 times out of 10, rejection has nothing to do with you and all to do with themselves. Down to even like that person's personal preference is the reason why they were not interested in you. There's nothing wrong with you. But we're not taught how to like deal with rejection, and men especially are not taught how to like emotionally regulate, and they're just taught to sort of like shove things down. So I think it's like a sort of like fucking shitstorm of stuff, and then their small t relationship trauma is what gets them into this pickle.
Michael from I don't know if I read that or not.
Whatever, you can do it.
$5 from Michael from Oklahoma. Taylor, I think even James might get your clear explanation, maybe, and bonus points for the chewed gum reference in your explanation. Thanks.
Yeah, girl. $5 from Michael from Oklahoma. James, you're better behaved than any of the previous callers, but what you're saying still boils down to no matter how you slice it, it's still baloney. Yeah, I like when we have callers like that.
$10 from Pulas? I don't know. Lying Christian flails helplessly when faced with hard-hitting requests to explain actual context. In other words, it's Tuesday. It's Tuesday.
$10 from Hedonista. That's really funny. Thank you both, but I particularly loved Taylor's Bible Smackdown with James. Yeah. Oh my God, we should have like a ding, 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 like when you actually
a soundboard.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Michael from Oklahoma, $5. James, watch it. The logical conclusion to what you said is for women to avoid marriage like the plague if just sexism is only applied to the wife. Yeah, for real. And then they're like, why aren't people getting married?
Right. $5 from Space Barbarian. A friend told me Catholics aren't real Christians. My response was, how am I supposed to know? Can you sort it out with them and get back to me?
No, for real. So many like Christians in the United States feel that way. It's so
crazy.
Weird. $20 from Lizzie Dog. James surrounded his debate with, well, cherry pick the Bible and DIY Pinterest your own God. Yeah.
Right. $5 from Michael from Oklahoma. James, you are just flailing and failing, but nice. It was a good run while it lasted. Stop being sexist, unleashed, and show some respect to Taylor.
Thanks. $10 from Elliot K. I'm a bit disappointed I couldn't talk to y'all today, but I understand given these calls, my topic didn't feel appropriate, so I understand. Hope you can get my call next week. Yeah, call back next week.
I didn't see what it was, but yeah, call back next week. Sometimes they're busy and sometimes they're slow. So, hopefully we'll get to you next week. $5 from Melatonin Ale. Adam, how the fork? Funny. Would a protest in the U.S. change the government of another country? We protest to change our government because we live here. Yeah, that's what I was like.
Yeah.
The oxygen mask on ourselves.
Right. $5 from Alicia on a silver bell. Adam's entire argument seems to be a Christian misogyny isn't as bad as Muslim misogyny, so you should just be grateful and stop complaining. No, that's exactly how I felt the whole thing was. So yeah, it was frustrating.
Oh my God. $5 from Michael from Oklahoma. Epic fail, Adam. We are not funding abusive women in any Muslim country. We are funding genocide in Gaza. We criticize both and funding needs too. Right.
Yeah. Legally mod, $5. Bottom surgery prep, electrolytes, Google it, is preferable to Martine's call.
Oh my God. That's funny. $10 from Legally Mod. I'm pretty sure that Adam is a white Christian boy from a white Christian family who has never set for outside of America, but adopted a fake ex-Muslim origin story to make his Islamophobia palatable. Maybe. I don't know.
something. 7.25 Kelly Bean.
Sorry.
Did we miss it? Oh, $20.
I'll read it.
Adam reminds me of the type of person that says, "So you hate dogs?" When I say I like cats, we can care about more than one thing at a time. Yeah, exactly. It's frustrating.
I wish I read that when it came through. $5 from Malia Shauna Silverbow. Adam may be obsessed with hating Muslims, but at least he doesn't compare different fruits. Sarcasm. I like it. Thank you so much.
Sorry, $5 from Myra Featherbender. Adam telling us no to feel bad because others have it worse is the same thing as telling us not to feel good because other people have it better. Yeah, exactly.
$10 from The Bastille. Chewed gum is brought to you by viewers like you. Thank you. Yes, it is. Thank you.
$5 from Fishy. Apples and oranges are different fruits. Women's oppression is on a spectrum of acidic oranges, but we can't let this orange in office rot us further. Yes, I love that.
Oh my God. Okay, we're almost done and it is 9:30, so I'm going to take like 2 seconds and just explain this funny thing. Have you ever seen My Big Fat Greek Wedding before?
No, but I know it.
Okay. You need to watch it. It is
Okay,
so deeply important that you watch it for our friendship because it is so good.
I will literally watch it this week.
No, please do. And I'll be so jealous that you're watching it because it's so great. But there's one scene where the dad of the Greek girl, he's upset that she's marrying a man who's not Greek. And he's obsessed with like everything having a Greek root. Like every word has a Greek root to it.
Mm-hmm.
And so their last name is Portakalis. This is how much I watched this movie. Portakalis, which means orange in Greek. And his like soon to be son-in-law, his last name is Miller. And then he's like, which is similar to this word in Greek, Mila or something, which is apple. And so he's like, so we might be different, but in the end, we're all fruit. And I was like, wow. And it's like, it's the best. So you need to watch it. And then when you get to that part, you're going to be so excited, but it's the best. Anyway, okay.
I can't wait to see it.
It's so good. $5 from Michael from Oklahoma. Great job of cracking the conservative code to the conservative. Maybe he'll learn. Maybe, but probably
I'm
not.
being told we actually have a tech issue on the other show. So maybe once you get through this, take a really long time with the last one and maybe vamp for like a minute or two. Yeah.
Okay.
Perfect. No problem. I can explain the entire plot line of My Big Fat Greek Wedding from the beginning, line for line.
$5 from Ben Hur. Most atheists and secular liberals aren't having kids. Do you expect the God gene to spread faster and future generations more conservative? Yeah, probably. Unfortunately. Yeah. But I don't know. At the same time, like Pew Research shows us that like people who are claim to be religious is really drastically going down still, even though we know like what Gen Z is a little more like conservative than millennials. But I don't know. Like I hope not. I hope that's not true, but that would like, yeah, I mean, that's gonna play a role. You're right.
I just saw the chat for calling it now, and Jovan is like, please vamp, tell people about your day. That's really funny. $5 from Mira Featherbender. Repubs create more shit problems than every trans woman. That will forever be like the critique I have of the people who call in, like Republicans.
Oh my gosh.
It's like, why are you like of all they really just care about the stupidest shit in the world, and it's just to like distract you from real things that are happening.
That's all it is. And they always point to California.
Always. Leave us alone. We're fine. We are having a great time. I learned this weekend that like 40% of the I don't remember if it's Vanguard or S&P, which is like those huge investment, like it's like you can invest in a huge group and it's the top, I don't know if it's like the top 500 companies in the stock market, publicly traded in the stock market. So if you're trying to invest and you want something that you are going, like that's like a sure thing, you invest in those. It's like Apple and Google and whatever. So you get it in this like huge big chunk and you can invest in like the S&P or Vanguard or whatever. And 40% of what is currently in those groups is AI companies. Isn't that fucking crazy?
Yeah, but it definitely explains like how fast it's growing, like at like the rates.
Right.
Yeah.
But it also, like, if there is actually going to be like an AI bubble that bursts, which I don't really know if that's going to happen. I hope it does. I think it will.
Like, what is the conclusion there? I'm not sure if I understand. Like,
oh my God, someone in the chat said I was kind maxing. That's really funny. The conclusion, like the problem is basically people have their like social securities tied up in investments. And so if there is going to be like a huge crash in AI, it's going to tank the stock market in a big way because they're like so heavily involved now. So
yeah, okay, I understand what you're saying. Damn.
But I do think that people are like, I think the tide has really, really turned on AI and people are just like really not.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that people are not fucking with it, especially if you're using it in place of things they can visibly see, like art related or anything like that. Yeah.
Yeah, I know. But I don't know what else is going on. Like, what's new? What you see crazy shit on your TikTok, so I know you've seen some crazy shit recently.
I went on a deep dive one night when I discovered this like it's a new conspiracy theory to me. Apparently it's been around, but it's like gaining a lot of traction right now, where they basically say that the government is dropping boxes of ticks onto people's farms, and they're talking about Lone Star ticks, which I'm not sure if you know this, but if the Lone Star tick bites you, it can make you allergic to red meat. Have you heard of this? That's like an actual thing. It's weird. Yeah, I don't know how it works, but it's a thing. Anyways, they're claiming that they're dropping Lone Star ticks onto people's farm to like use as a weapon against us because they don't want us eating red meat. I don't know. And then RFK Jr. is feeding into this too, saying that the government has used ticks as a bioweapon to give people Lyme's disease.
But why? Why would they want people to be allergic to red meat? The red meat is like a huge
because they say that they want the woman in the video, her explanation is that they want to stop climate change and like ending factory farming would like slow down climate change or something. So they're trying to make us all allergic to red meat.
Yeah, but like what?
It's
That's
insane.
Crazy because
but like simultaneously they don't believe in climate change, so they think that people are doing it for the fun of it. So I don't understand it really. It's insane, and it's just it wasn't shocking at all that when I was looking this up, RFK Jr. had said something about it. I'm like, fucking of course. They like always benefit off of the conspiracy theories, and the biggest one being like involving immigrants and the replacement theory. I feel like I hear that constantly, even if it's not the main topic of discussion. I feel like it's always in the freaking background, and it makes me so irritated.
Yeah, it is. It's extremely irritating.
Yeah. It's so heavily tied to all the QAnon stuff. Oh, that's another thing about it, is it is tied to the QAnon stuff because I'm sure you probably know this, but a lot of the QAnon stuff ties back to Bill Gates, where they think he is like drinking adrenochrome from children to gain superpowers. I'm not joking. I know.
Oh my God.
He's part of like the elite or the like swamp or whatever you want to call it. But anyways, in this woman's conspiracy theory about the ticks, she literally brought up Bill Gates and Pfizer and stuff. And I was like, yeah, that's not shocking to me literally at all. But
what's crazy, even with like the tick thing is who do you think is like an evil genius environmentalist who's doing that? Like, it's almost like I wish that was happening, but I promise you it's not. Like, it's just
the thing they get mad about is they say climate change isn't real, therefore there could be no change because like we're seeing more and more ticks due to climate change. And they're basically saying that's impossible. Climate change wouldn't change the amount of ticks we have, which I have no idea why that's so hard to believe. And in my video responding to it, I'm like, where I live, there was always monarch butterflies growing up, and now they're really, really endangered. Did the government kill them? Or was that because they lost like their environments? Like, which is it?
Yeah.
It's so dumb. The whole thing is so stupid. It's all just because they reject science, basically.
So fucking dumb. Also, I thought about this weekend that I don't really see fireflies anymore. And I remember when I was a
Yeah,
kid, I would see them
they're
everywhere.
yeah, they're like dying
They're
out too.
endangered. I'm
I
so upset
know.
about it. Can you imagine like explaining to the younger generation that there were these bugs that would just
I
light up,
know. I
highlighter
know.
green?
I was thinking that there was literally one in my house the other week and it was so random. I'm like, I haven't seen
Oh,
one of these in so long. And no, that's how I feel about the monarch butterflies. It actually makes me so sad. And I really want to buy a house and have a yard so I can plant like I
yeah.
think it's called milkweed or something, whatever they like.
Yeah, you can
I
have a
want that
butterfly
so bad.
garden. You should
Yes,
have
I
a
want that
butterfly
so bad.
garden. I went to a house
Mhm.
this weekend, actually. Oh my God. Okay. My new hot take, it's not really new, and it's not really that much of a hot take, is that rich people don't know how to be rich properly anymore
No, for real.
because they all have the worst taste of all kind of all time. Like, have you ever seen what the
Yeah.
inside of Kim Kardashian's house looks like?
Yes, it looks like the back rooms, legit.
It looks like the fucking back rooms. It's
It's
so no,
scary.
but honestly, the back rooms is better because at least it was yellow. Like her,
Yeah,
it's
at
just
least it had some color.
beige, beige, and there's nothing in there. So this
It's horrifying.
weekend, yeah, this weekend, it really is. My husband's family friend who was like 95, she was very old. She passed, and so his mom is like the executor. So we were going through and helping her like sort some stuff in her house, and her husband was a dentist. They made a lot of money. Their house was so cool. It was so cool. Like there was like crazy wallpaper everywhere and like the door handles were like glass and crystally and like
Yeah,
everything was so beautiful and ornate.
it was
And
actually
like,
interesting.
yeah, I was like, these are people who knew how to be rich because this
Right.
is so nice. It was like, it was so,
None of the like
oh, no,
sterile
no.
crap. I know,
Asylums.
it's like I so badly want a yard. I can't explain to you how bad I want a yard. I want one
Yeah.
so bad. But I'm like, it's so crazy to think about the fact that that seems so hard to get in the United States.
Yeah, I know. It's not actually that hard in California. There's like a lot of
Really?
space. Yeah, so like you can get a pretty legit apartment with a yard for, I mean, it's not cheap, but it's not
Yeah.
impossible. So I
Yeah.
don't know. But
Yeah.
having a yard is so nice. And actually, sorry, the reason I thought about her is because she had a butterfly garden in the
That's
backyard.
so cool.
So we went in the back and there were all of these butterflies, and I was like, what is happening?
That's
And
so cool.
yeah, she had a little butterfly garden. It was just so nice. I loved it.
I want that and bird feeders and hummingbird
Yeah.
feeders. Those are really cool.
Yeah.
I used to have those growing up.
I think that I can like picture you on like a nice little lawn chair,
Yes, that's how I'm
just
picturing it.
sitting
Have
out
some iced
there.
tea,
Oh my God,
watching
yes.
the nature. I would
Watching
love
the
that.
nature. Or on your back porch with a in a
Yes.
rocking chair, just watching all the
Yes. That's my
butterflies.
dream. I'm a simple woman. That's all I want.
I'm telling you, I was saying, one of my friends is having like a big birthday party on Friday and she's turning 26. So like it's a club thing and it starts at 9 p.m.
Oh, that's rough.
And I was really gonna like try my best to be there, but like some work stuff came up and Bonnie had her fucking teeth thing, whatever. All this stuff came up and I was like, this feels like not to be woo woo, but I was like, this is a sign. This is a sign
Yeah.
because my ass does not need to be at a club at 9 p.m. I would like to also
Yeah.
be on a porch, rocking back and forth, watching bugs that we have now brought
Yeah,
back into the
literally.
whatever it's called that's not coming to me right now. That sounds like a way better time to me. Have you seen people do the thing where they get like their local wildflower seeds and they put them in like salt shaker, or I guess it's more like the Parmesan cheese shakers from pizzerias. And there's like a guy who will sprinkle them like all over his
Oh,
his
that's so
area.
cool.
Is that fun?
Oh yeah, to make it, aren't they called a name like specific kinds of yards? Are you talking about the
Hmm.
yards that aren't like just grass that get mowed and they
Oh,
like
I know what you're talking about.
I don't know what they're called.
The clover,
Yeah.
like they call them like fairies something like. But I know
Yeah.
what you're talking about. I so love that. Like if I ever have the opportunity to have a yard where I can kill the grass and grow like four-leaf clovers instead, ooh, bitch,
Yeah.
I'm doing it.
That'd be really pretty.
I am doing it.
Dreaming of the future.
Dreaming of the future. But our asks are small.
Yeah, exactly.
And you know what? Adam had a lot to say about how we're asking for a lot. And actually, all I want is a nice little backyard where no one bothers me.
It's crazy, too, that Trump gets away with saying, no, I don't want to bring down home prices because then the homeowners that already exist will lose, like, what? Like, the value of their house will go down.
Fucking stupid. Although, did you see that he said that did we talk about this? That he's running for a fourth term? I think I did say this maybe earlier.
Yeah, and he put on his dumbass hat. It's so stupid because he's always like trying to rage bait people in that way, and it's so freaking annoying because then if you ever address it, they're like, it was a joke, obviously. And it's like,
right.
It's like bad news for him though. He's probably gonna be dead before that happens. So
well,
his ego won't allow him to like think that way, but it's true.
From your lips to his cardiovascular system. Really?
No, actually, it's yeah, I'm waiting.
Well, seen any good movies recently, or are you reading anything? Are you a reader? I don't remember.
I actually just started reading Promise's book.
Oh,
yeah, but I'm going slow through it because I'm like underlining things and making notes and stuff because I sometimes have a really hard time keeping my attention span. So I figured when I'm like more interactive with the book and not afraid to like write in it and underline and highlight, it's like easier for me, but it takes me a lot longer.
Yeah, but that's okay. It'll help with, I need to reread it actually because I read it before it came out. I got to read it to write like a little blurb, which was very cool. And I want to reread it because it is helpful for when we have people who call in and they like really know their shit. I'm like, well,
yeah, right, yeah, it's really good so far. But before, I am also listening to I'll read, but I also have books I listen to while I do chores, and I'm listening to Fourth Wing right now.
Ooh, yeah. Is it your first time with Fourth Wing?
Yeah. It's weird because I think that I do it a little bit of a injustice because I compare too much to House of the Dragon. So when the dragons in the book talk, I really hated that at first.
Yeah.
Now I'm like getting used to it, but at first I'm like, no, don't talk.
Wait, are you also listening to there's a version of the Fourth Wing audiobooks that's like acted out? Are you listening to that version of it?
I don't know because my friend asked me that too. She said there's like a dramatized reading and then there's like a regular reading, and I have to go back because I'm listening to it on YouTube because it's free.
Okay.
And so I have to go back to YouTube and see what it says because I'm interested to know, because if it's not the dramatized version, I don't want to know what the dramatized version is like.
Are the when the dragons talk, is it like
yes?
Okay, that's the dramatized version.
Okay. I figured probably it's a little cringy sometimes, but I'm also I think it probably helps me pay attention though, like all of the changing in voices and stuff.
Yeah. I read Fourth Wing and then I was trying to read the second one that I can't remember what it's called, and I did the audiobook for that one. And that's when I heard the person doing a dragon voice like that. And I was like, huh?
It's really funny. But
that is not how they sounded in my head. Oh my God.
But I'm enjoying it so far, I think.
Okay, wait. Have you gotten to chapter 30?
Probably not. I'm thinking of like how many hours like on the YouTube video I'm in.
And it's like halfway through the book.
Okay. Because I think there's multiple videos like to get through the one book. So I think I'm like 7 hours or something in, but I don't think I'm at chapter 30, to be honest.
Okay, the reason why I'm asking is because chapter 30 has a sex scene.
Oh yeah, I'm not there yet.
Fucking crazy. Like I remember the first time I read it, I was like, I now understand. Like if I lived in like the 1800s and I only had books to get the job done, This would be the chapter I would keep. This would be like what I would.
Yeah, it's so funny because I literally never read smut either. And I know that's like kind of like stuff that it's leading up to, but it's just really funny because I feel like such an old woman because sometimes I'm not expecting it. I'm like, oh, great heavens! Like, no, it's really funny though. I'm excited to listen to the rest. But it's kind of nice to have an audiobook you have on hand while doing chores because you look forward to doing your chores.
Yes.
Like that's a cheat code.
Yes. I love it. Oh my God, someone said I didn't know Alyssa did audiobooks. I guess like listen to audiobooks. Maybe she can do audiobook of Gospel Lies. I don't do audiobooks. I listen to them.
You would have a good voice for it though.
I think about that sometimes because I know that you can make like quite a bit of money. I'm like, you're getting paid to just like read out loud. That's awesome.
Yeah.
But I can't do like voices. And I think even for books that are not like you're trying to be a dragon, there's still like you have to have like, some differentiation in
some
what
like
you're reading.
Be kind of like animated, yeah.
Yeah, like I don't know if I could take that so seriously, but I don't know, maybe. It always seems like
You probably get used to it.
Yeah, probably. I feel like I would need to, no one could watch me do that.
Yeah.
No one could watch me.
And I don't think anyone would have to. Wait, is Promise going to do an audiobook? Is she like going to read her book?
Oh, I don't know. That's a good question.
I feel like I saw her say something about that, and I thought maybe she was, but I might be tripping, honestly. But that would be cool. And it makes me wonder how many authors read their own book for audiobooks.
Yeah, I mean a lot of them do. I like do you know Lena Dunham?
Why does it sound familiar?
She was the woman who like wrote and produced Girls.
Oh yeah, I've watched Girls, yeah.
Okay, her book Famesick is really good.
I'll have to write that down.
And she reads the audiobook for it, and I think if I read it, I wouldn't like it as much, but hearing it in her voice, because she's a very like polarizing person. Like the stuff she says is just so crazy.
Wait,
and
is this the main like girl?
Yeah.
Is this
Hannah?
Hannah? Oh, okay. Oh, wow.
Hannah, which by the way, she was like chronically ill the whole time. Pretty much the whole time they were doing that show, which is why her like weight fluctuated a lot and her hair fluctuated a lot. It's like actually crazy to hear what was like physically happening to her in that period of time. So if you liked Girls, I would highly recommend. I also am very overdue for a Girls rewatch because I loved that show.
I literally just discovered it this past year. Was the very first time I watched it, and then it like became my comfort show. And it was so funny because I was like, I've never heard of this show. Didn't know, and I literally think I clicked on it because I saw Adam Driver, and I was like, he looks so young here. What the hell? And so I just like clicked on it, and then all of a sudden I was like binge watching it. It was pretty good.
Yeah, which is so funny because Adam Driver is like insane in the show.
He is. I was like, who is this man?
Yeah.
He gave me the creeps, but like I know he's a main character, but
yeah, you should actually, even in Famesick, she talks about what his audition was like. And she said like from the audition he was like in character and like a freak. In character, a freak. Like he was just so yeah.
That's
I
really
highly
funny.
recommend.
Am I really tripping, or did Hannah and Adam Driver like date at one point, or am I like totally making that up?
So they didn't, but in the book, their like relationship to each other was really weird. Like she describes it as being like weird and confusing.
Okay, that's what it was then.
Yeah, but they never like dated. She dated Jack Antonoff for a really long time, and he is the lead singer of is it Fun? And maybe he's not the lead singer, but he wrote for Fun, but he also writes for Taylor Swift. And he wrote for Lorde for a long time. And then what's the other? Is it Bleachers is his other band? I think it's the Bleachers. Yeah, the Bleachers, Fun. And then Steel Train, which I've never heard, and Red Hearse, which I've never heard. But
I feel like this would kind of relate to your content, but did you watch Substance?
Yes.
How do you feel about it?
I loved it.
Yeah,
I
it
thought
was
it
pretty
was
good.
so crazy. Actually, Margaret Qualley, who's the like young, I can't remember what their names are, but the young version of Demi Moore, she was married to Jack Antonoff. Weirdly, that's such
Oh,
a crazy.
no,
It's
yeah,
crazy you
that's
brought that
why
up.
that's
Oh,
actually
okay.
why I said that, because I saw her in a picture with him
Yeah.
and I was like, I guess they were
Yeah.
whatever.
They were married or together or something. I loved The Substance. I thought it was so good.
It was really, really good.
And
And
really like timely. I also love when an actress who is gorgeous, stunning, uh, is okay with being ugly on film.
yeah,
So seeing
I
Demi
know what you
Moore be
mean.
like ugly
Yeah.
was amazing.
Yeah, and she actually won like her first whatever because of it, right? Her first, I don't know, some kind of big award she won for Substance, because I remember she gave a speech and she hadn't won an award that big before.
Yeah.
But I also saw that you might have said this, and I can't remember if you were talking about a movie or a show, but I saw that Carrie was being made into a show. Is
Yes.
that because you were talking about Carrie
So,
before?
yes. I don't know if I didn't realize it's going to be a show, but I guess that makes
Yeah.
sense because it's Mike Flanagan who did like Haunting of Hill House and Haunting, like all of those. Um, which have you ever watched Midnight Mass before?
Oh, yes. I've watched it like 5 times.
Okay, same. I love it so much.
Once a year.
Oh my God, yes, your annual Midnight Mass watch. Um, uh, Mike Flanagan made all of those. And
Yeah.
if you liked those shows, you should watch his movies because his movies are also fucking
I
awesome.
like Hush like a lot.
Hush is really good.
Yeah.
Oculus is also really
I
good.
have seen Oculus, but I barely remember it because it's pretty old, I think.
Yeah, it's old. And then there's another one called Gerald's Game that's also really good.
Oh my gosh, is that when he's like
When
trapped on
she's
the
trapped.
bed?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Yeah, I've seen that too, but it's been so long. I need to
Yeah.
rewatch these.
So I trust Mike Flanagan to do a version
Good.
of Carrie, especially because he has a Carrie, the story of Carrie is really about like a young girl having her period for the first time and being like mortified by the experience. And then her
Yeah.
mom is also a religious fundamentalist and is also like it really is a
Yeah.
story about like becoming a woman and how it is kind of mortifying from the second it happens.
Yeah.
To her mom being this older woman who still is like mortified by the experience of being a woman. And so much so that she like makes it her mom's responsibility or her daughter's responsibility as well. So the whole like plot line of it is really deeply tied to the experience of young girls. And I feel like Mike Flanagan has a really beautiful storytelling lens to the things that he makes,
Yeah.
exactly what's required for a story like Carrie. Because like Carrie, have you seen the original Carrie movie before?
Like I've seen one and I don't know like which one it was, if I'm being honest.
The original one is with Sissy Spacek. And actually you would like it because the mom is like a crazy religious woman. So I think you would find it interesting. But the
Yeah.
original Carrie is so fucking scary. But
I'm gonna watch it now because I
you
want to
should.
know.
But nothing scary happens, really. It's so weird. It's like Sissy
Like
Spacek.
psychological?
Well, Sissy Spacek is really creepy, who plays Carrie. She's really creepy, but she's not like doing any like you'll have to watch it and let me know if you feel the same way, but I was so scared watching it. And I had watched like Texas Chainsaw Massacre and will go right to sleep. But Carrie freaked me the fuck out. But it really, because it's a story that like relies so much on the storytelling and like the build
Yeah.
up to the eventual like the blood spill and like if you haven't seen the original Carrie, I don't want to tell you how it ends after the blood spill because it's so
Yeah.
fucking epic and it's so it's so good. I love Carrie.
I'm excited because I'm also gonna I
Yeah.
will make my friend watch it with me because we watch like a lot of horror together. So I'm excited.
It's so good.
I think
Are they
they
ready?
have gotten the show running, so I think we are
Woo!
ready.
All right, awesome.
Thank you so much, ladies, for filling the space. You did an excellent job.
Of course.
No
I
worries.
love to yap.
Me too. I love to yap with my girl. All right, everyone, go to the Patreon. Actually, I mean, stick around because you're going to watch another show right after this, which will be fun. And also go to the Patreon, patreon.com/calltheline, so you can see the new tiers and the new stuff that's happening, and do that before the call that we have, the Zoom tomorrow. So you can get in on all the good stuff that's happening, even on the free tier. And thank you, Arden, for producing and being our voice of God in this experience. And we will see you all.
Bye.